Hello. This is our first live stream, so please be patient with us as I figure out how to make this work. But I think we're live, and hopefully you can hear us. I do have it pulled up right here on my phone, as you can see. I don't know if we can hear it. Let's see. Oh, you can. You can hear us. That is a good thing. I don't know how many people are watching us. Hello, Nancy. Hello, Barbara.
Hello.
That's the exciting thing about being live. We can
Yeah.
actually talk to you. This is really exciting for me because so far our interactions have totally been they've been solely
Over
through
comments.
comments. And
Yeah.
so this is very exciting just to get to interact and get to know y'all hopefully on a more personal level. Here's Brienne.
Yes.
She
hello.
hasn't been in any of our videos lately. Brienne, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Okay, well that's good. Hi Kathy. Welcome.
Hello.
Good to have you here. Really excited. Just kind of really one of the main purposes of this live stream today is first off just to kind of hang out and get to know y'all. We do have a big announcement. We have a few announcements we're going to make over the course of this live stream, and we're going to get those on. We're going to get those done with pretty early on. So don't worry about that. If you got somewhere you got to go, we will make those announcements pretty soon. We're just going to wait a little while to let people hop on. But the main thing we want to do in this is just get to know y'all, and then maybe let y'all get to know us a little bit because we've been on YouTube for a year, and I figured maybe that's a good opportunity to just kind of have a little party with all the people who have been with us on that journey. So thank you so much. Let's see. Debbie, hello, love your channel. Thank you so much, Debbie. I appreciate that. I love the fact that y'all are return viewers. It means a lot to me. I say this to Brienne a lot, but I have to deal with myself constantly. I mean, I'm stuck with me whether I like it or not. And so half the time I annoy myself. And so if I could escape myself, I would. But the fact that people willingly will tune in and just listen to me talk, that means a lot. And then she, for some reason, keeps coming back as well. And so thank you so much for that. But yeah, so if you are watching us right now, be sure to just introduce yourself in the chat because I want to get to know y'all. I like to talk and just, hear. How's your day going? Tell us that. Just let's start a little bit of a dialogue. But Brienne, tell us, what did you do today? Let's just get talking here.
We have homecoming up at the high school that I went to. My mom and my aunt, they both teach up there, and they're over student council that's there. And so they're the ones that throw homecoming. And today is the homecoming dance. So I was helping my mom today run around and go get last minute extra decorations. I went up to the high school and I helped them decorate. Just kind of doing a little bit of everything just to help them get the last pieces together. And then once I'm done here, I have to go back, and at the end of the dance, I get to help them take everything down.
Yeah. Okay. That is fun stuff, man. Yeah. High school. I remember those days, all the homecoming stuff. I never had to do preparation, but that's because my mother wasn't a teacher.
Yeah.
So there you
go.
And
it's weird because now I'm a tutor at the high school that I used to go to. I started that job this week. So now I'm in the same high school where I was also a student. But now I'm staff. I have an IT badge and everything, and it scans me into the doors, into the gates, all of that. It's very weird.
Very official.
Yeah.
Very
People
official.
still think I'm a student, but
that's good. You look like a student.
I do.
Yeah. Jules says, happy anniversary. Love your teachings. Yes, thank you so much, Jules. This is exciting for us. And we're going to talk a little bit about, this is it's not our anniversary. It is the anniversary of the channel. Yeah. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, how this whole thing came to be, because I just think it's very exciting. And then Barbara says she just got back from volunteering at the Museum of the Bible.
That's so wow. Cool.
That's actually really cool. I've never been to the Museum of the Bible. I want to go, though. That's something so where fun. I remember when they first announced that they were building that thing, I got so excited. And I've actually never been to Washington, D.C. I've traveled to a lot of places. Yeah. I've never been to Washington, D.C. But one day, the day I do go there, even if I'm there for 5 hours, I'm going to the Museum of the Bible. I don't care if I visit no place else. That's cool. Barbara, what were you doing up there? That's really neat. Maria says, hi, David. I've watched several of your videos. And the ones you did with the Snipe Life with Brandon. Yes. Yeah. Snipe Life and Brandon. I guess the two Brandons. I love those guys. They are great. And they have done a lot to really help this channel grow. They, alongside The Chosen and all of that stuff, has been very supportive. And so I appreciate that. Kim says, congratulations. Kathy says, enjoy your talks. Thank you so much, Kathy. I appreciate that. Kim says, happy anniversary. Yeah. And so let's talk about that. This is our 1 year anniversary of being on this channel. And I actually have this later on for I kind of have this little schedule of stuff we can talk about over the course of this, but might as well talk about it now. How this channel came to be is kind of interesting. This is actually going to play into one of the big announcement we've got for tonight. This channel came to be. It was actually kind of an accident. Yeah. I actually originally had another channel that I posted a lot of like sermons and songs and stuff on. And what happened is that Brienne had never seen like any movie whatsoever. I mean, that's a bit of exaggeration, but she hadn't seen a lot of movies, and I'm a cinephile. I watch like a lot of movies, and so I started showing her the Marvel movies, and we started posting those on my other channel, but I didn't want that channel to get bogged down with a bunch of movie content because I wanted it to be more biblical. And so we started making this other channel, and we called it Now Let's Be Honest About Movies, because we thought it was mainly just going to be like a side thing for fun for us to do, where she's just reacting to movies.
Yeah.
And then I started getting friends together to react to The Chosen. And, it was just like a thing. I was really kind of treating it almost like a discipleship thing, where I was just trying to get my friends comfortable with talking about God, where they weren't having to do it in front of a big group. They were just doing it in front of a camera. Yeah. And that was just like purely just a side thing. And then the video started taking off. Yeah. And now this channel is like way bigger than the original channel.
Right.
And so it's kind of funny how this came to be. And so that's why it's such like a big deal. This is the 1 year anniversary, because I wouldn't have thought that this, like a year ago when we started this, I would not have thought that there would be people I could interact with in live comments if I did a live stream.
Right.
Because really going on YouTube was never a thing about growing. It was just about, I don't know. I feel like YouTube is an amazing, it provides with an amazing opportunity to get your content out there. And, you can just sit down, you can talk about God, even if it gets to one person, and even if one person sees it, you can change their life. Might as well take that opportunity, And so I just have always I've always liked YouTube, and I just thought I'd do it. I never expected it to actually grow. And so once again, that's why we wanted to invite you on this and do a live stream, because this channel is largely due to y'all. Because I mean, obviously we're not like one of those huge channels. We're not like Mike Winger with like 300,000 subscribers.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe one day, but I'm not even really that worried about that. I'm not worried about growth. If I was, I would do a lot shorter videos. I'm just glad that we have like this community where we can talk about God, talk about the Bible. And that's been very exciting for me. So thank you so much for that. Barbara says that she works at the info desk helping people know where to find things. The building is 430,000 square feet. Wow. That is ginormous.
That's crazy.
Wow. That is so big. Man, I need to go there. That'd be great. Barbara, do you live in Washington, D.C.? Because if you do, and if I'm in Washington, D.C., I'm contacting you, and you're obviously the person to go to if I have questions on where to go. And so I will, I'll make sure to touch base with you and be like, hey, Barbara, I'm in Washington, D.C. Show me where to go. But yeah, real quick, I forgot. I didn't talk about what my day was.
Yeah, what did you do today?
I've done so much talking. I haven't even let Brienne talk yet. I still have yet to talk about my day. Well, I woke up early this morning. I did homework till about 2 a.m. yesterday. Then I woke up at 6 this morning, and I went and ran a race, a 5K. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because look how cool these medals are, right? You can kind of see it. It's like a coffin. It was called the Boo Dash because, Halloween's tomorrow. And so it's called the Boo Dash Fun Run. And there was a kids 1K and then a 5K. But look at this. It opens up.
Boom, look at that.
And this, it's glow in the dark.
The ghost.
Right? Is that not the coolest thing ever? Yeah, that was cool. And I won my age group. I did not win overall. Unfortunately, I'm not in that type of shape anymore. Back in high school, I would have been. But I did win my age group. And look, I got this cute little like bat that's like, it's like a stress ball. And I just thought it was really cool. And so I just thought I'd share this because this has been a lot of enjoyment for my day. And then I went home, I read my Bible for a bit, and then I had to go meet with a family that I'm officiating a funeral for at the end of this week. And so I went and met with them. We had a good discussion. I hadn't seen them in a long time, so that was really nice. And then I came home. And I had to start working on a costume that we're having a little party here at my house tomorrow with our church group. And so I had to work on a little costume for that. And then I read my Bible some more. And then here we are. Brienne showed up a few minutes ago, and then we sat down and did this. Barbara says, yes, I love to show people around. Okay, Barbara, if we are in Washington, D.C., I'm contacting you, and hopefully you will want to show us around, and hopefully it'll be free. Kim says, Brienne, your lack of knowledge helped me to explore other shows like Smallville and even Ben-Hur. The lack of knowledge part got me scared. I was like, are you bad at Filter? Okay, your lack of knowledge helped me explore other shows like Smallville and even Ben-Hur. Appreciate you guys' take on the different shows. And let's not, of course, forget The Chosen. Yay. Yes. Okay, Smallville, first off.
Yeah. We haven't watched that in so long. So if any of y'all have been here since we started those reviews, that was a while back.
That was a while back.
And we only have one episode left of the second season, right?
I think so.
So whenever we come and we start watching them again, the last episode of the second season, like the quality is gonna like skyrocket.
Oh, it's gonna be so funny.
We had like no lights. We didn't have these canvases here.
Yeah.
Like we didn't have a mic, so like even
Yeah.
the audio is not as good. So it's gonna like skyrocket. It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, no, before, like, it's crazy how much just this room has transitioned
and
over the
books in
course of a
background.
year.
Yeah.
Oh, because like I said, originally we weren't doing this for an audience. We were just doing this for fun and for memories. And so we just like set up something in my room. We're like, okay, let's talk about the show. And so we had like all this different stuff here. And then I even like changed these books. I don't know if y'all noticed this in the videos. I changed these because people in the comments were getting distracted by the fact that I had a bunch of just like movies or like Superman
like
stuff back here.
stuff.
And really, part of me was tempted, because I'm a stubborn person, I was tempted to just say, get over it. But I also figured, maybe there's a time to just, help people out there. And so if that was going to distract them from the content, I decided, let me put some scholarly books or something there so that people know that I might kind of know maybe what I'm talking about. I don't entirely, but that's why I have the books, right? I can quote them. But yeah, so Smallville is great. And then, like Kim pointed out, we cannot forget The Chosen.
Absolutely.
Because,
that's
what started this whole thing. I mean, just my history with The Chosen, I started watching that show back whenever there were only 4 episodes out. Actually, I don't even know if the 4 episodes were out yet. I think they were about to come out. I'm not sure. I think maybe the 4 were already out. And I remember I saw a scene from episode 3 where Jesus is talking with the children. And typically, if you've been watching this for this channel for long enough, you'll know that I'm typically very skeptical of a lot of Christian media because usually it's not that good. I mean, I'm just going to be straightforward. It usually is not very good. And it's not the high caliber that I would hope that we would have as Christians. I think that we've been slacking in the art department, and that comes, I like art. But then I watched that one clip from episode 3 and I was like, man, I want to watch the show. And then I watched it and then I showed it to my parents. And then, so it's just really cool. Brandon, hey, Brandon Robbins, congrats on your 1-year anniversary. You're doing such an awesome job. Thank you so much, Brandon. I appreciate that. It means everything that you just even would tune in. Brandon has been an amazing friend in helping me with this whole channel thing. He's had us on his channel and he joined us with the Snipe Life and all that stuff. And if you're not subscribed to Brandon Robbins, I imagine if you're subscribed to my channel, you probably are to his. But if you're not, be sure to go to his channel because he's got amazing stuff. Like I can just click on any of his videos and I'm guaranteed to learn so much from them. So thank you, Brandon, for tuning in and helping me out so much. I really appreciate that. Kim also said, looking forward to them. I just found you a half year ago, so haven't been with you the whole time. Oh, well, Kim, you better step your game up. Got to catch up. We got hours of content to watch. We got a lot. It's been a year, but man, I have sat here for what feels like a year straight. I probably need to get like more comfy seats.
Yeah, we have like a piano bench.
Yeah, it's funny because I've got a piano in my living room, and ever since I started this channel, I just sit on like another bench when I play piano, and I keep the piano bench in here.
If it's 2 people.
Yeah, if it's 2 people. Yeah. And so, it's kind of funny, but we're not very professional here. Maybe one day I'll get a bigger setup, but this room is also very small. You can't really necessarily tell from the camera, but yeah. Should we get to the announcements?
Yeah,
I think we should. It's been 15 minutes and we've got some people tuned in. It's not a huge crowd, but we're not really needing a huge crowd for this. It's just more the people who actually would care about this stuff. Let's start getting to some announcements. We got 3 main announcements, and the third one's going to be the really big one that's going to be important going forward. But the first one is just talking about how in the near future, we are considering somehow starting the whole YouTube membership thing. And I really don't know how that whole process works. I've been looking into it. That's why I haven't started it quite yet. But memberships are basically where you can, if you want to support this ministry, or I don't know if I quite consider it a ministry right now. It's too fun and it's there's really no risk involved. So I don't know if I quite call it a ministry, but I'd like to think that one day it could become that. If you would like to support the ministry, you can like support us towards I think it's like a monthly thing, and there's different amounts of money that you can give each month, and that allows you to unlock different features. And so I think there's emojis that I've actually designed the emojis already, and I think they're kind of fun. She was there with me whenever I designed them. And then there's also badges that you can get, and I think I might have her design those. We'll see. And we're still brainstorming some of that stuff. And then also we're trying to think of different perks that we could give you if you did want to support us in that way. And so if you have any ideas of what type of perks you might want, let us know. The main issue is that I am pretty short on time because I'm like burning the midnight oil already. And so I need to figure out something that I can do in an efficient manner that isn't requiring like hours and hours of prep work like a lot of these videos do.
Yeah.
And so if you have any ideas, please let me know. But yeah, so that's the first announcement. We are planning on hopefully starting membership sometime soon. I don't know if that's going to be next week or like next month or on the 2-year anniversary, but that is something that we've been thinking about. And I don't like asking for money or anything like that. I try to mention money as little as possible because I really get annoyed by people who focus on that too much. But I just thought I'd throw that out to you in case you did want to do that. Kim says, oops, to clarify, I'm looking forward to more Smallville and other shows in addition to The Chosen. Yes. And we're gonna watch more Smallville eventually.
Yes.
I've got to, because Smallville is one of my favorite shows. It used to be my favorite show, but The Chosen might be that now. I don't know. We'll have to see how The Chosen finishes, you know? Smallville had 10 seasons, and some of them were good, some of them are bad. But we're going to get back to it. We will get back to Smallville. It's funny because we went through season 1 in like 2 weeks.
So quickly.
And then season 2, it's like started dragging out. I think we started season 2 before we started this channel. Officially. I think
so.
Yes.
Possibly, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So it's been over a year and we haven't got through season 2. So that's kind of crazy. Barbara says, Perks, your great Chosen artwork. That's a good idea.
That is really
yes,
good.
because I actually do have additional Chosen artwork in addition to the stuff that I have showed. As you can see right here, this is my artwork about the, this is my artwork of Jesus walking with the 12 apostles. And this over here is a little cartoon that I drew of me and Brienne as characters of The Chosen walking with Jesus. And so that would actually be kind of cool. I could include, that's something I could definitely do because I have other artwork that if you wanted something like that, yeah, absolutely. That'd be cool. Maria says, I know you must do a lot of research. So how about a book giveaway for your favorite books? That would be really cool too.
That is cool.
Yeah. I mean, I would like that because, I like sharing that information, and especially if people want that stuff. I love like, I mean, that's something I'll do with some of the people who I try to disciple and stuff in general.
Yeah.
Like in the church, like if they're interested in this, I'm like, I'll go buy you the book. So absolutely, that'd be a really cool thing to do. So thank you once again. If you have more ideas for different perks that you might be interested in, I would love to hear them because yeah, cool. So all right, so that's something that's coming up, right? That's the first announcement. First announcement, memberships coming soon. Second announcement, I just wanted to talk about the various content that we have coming out over the course of the next weeks, months, years. I don't know. We'll see. First and foremost, we do have our Lives of the Apostle series continuing to go on, right? That is where we're walking through the lives of the apostles in 3 different ways. We're going through their fictional storylines of The Chosen. We're talking about what we know about their lives from the text of Scripture, and then what we might or might not know about their lives from the traditions that developed in the years of the early church. And so far, we have walked through, I believe, I don't even know how many we've done. I've pre-recorded some of these videos, and so I keep losing track of which ones I've already posted. I believe Thomas is being posted tomorrow, and I've already recorded some of the other ones, so that's why it's kind of difficult. I think I might even still have a mustache in the video that I'm recording on. That I did on Thomas, but she had me shave it. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so we do have that coming out, and so that's something to look forward to, and we should be wrapping that up in a few more weeks because we only have a few apostles left. And that brings us to the other content that will be coming out, and I wanted to ask y'all's opinion on what y'all would like, because if you're tuning into this live stream, that means that you actually do like this channel and that you're watching it. And so that's the people whose opinion I really, really care about, right? I mean, I care about everybody's opinion, but I want to make content that will benefit those who actually are going to watch it, right? I don't like, if people are watching, I want to help them out and help them grow in Christ. And so I want to do the things that would help your walk the most. And so here's some different ideas that I've got concerning what different things we could do next. I mainly have 2 different ideas, and I'm trying to make it to where it still kind of relates to The Chosen, just because I do owe a lot to that TV show. And I think also you do get more views if I kind of, if I can use a thumbnail from the show or something like that, just because that draws people in. And so until the channel gets a lot bigger, I'm going to try to kind of just ride on the coattails of The Chosen as long as I can. But here's the different ideas I've got after we finish this Lives of the Apostle series. And the reason I'm asking now is because I like to, start working on this, and I'm going to have, like, the research takes a long time. And so I'd actually have to start researching this stuff now before I started actually releasing the videos. And I try to release videos at least weekly. And so I need to start thinking about this now. And I also want to start promoting it, And so here's the 2 main ideas I've got. On one side, I was thinking that it might be cool to do a series on other things in first century culture, right? So I'm thinking like we could talk about the different, I could do a video on each of the religious parties that they had at that time period, you know, Pharisees, Sadducees, Essenes, Zealots, all those things. And I could just talk about various different things about just what first century culture was like. I thought that'd be kind of cool. But then another thing that I thought would be really fun, and if I'm being honest, this is the thing that I would want to do the most. First, it takes a little bit less research on my part, so it could just be laziness. But I was thinking it might be kind of cool to start walking through the books of the prophets, right, in the Old Testament. And that's because, first off, I think that the Old Testament is very neglected in modern Christian circles. And so a lot of the times when I lead Bible studies, I tend to lean towards Old Testament studies just because, from my perspective, it's more likely that the people that I'm ministering to will go through a New Testament book in the future than they will the Old Testament. And so I really like that. But whenever you're watching The Chosen, they're quoting prophecies left and right in almost every episode. And so I thought it might be useful for y'all if we actually did series walking through the prophets. And I think that in the long run, I will probably do both of these series. Like, if we, Lord willing, if I live long enough, and if this channel keeps going, I will have plenty of time to do all these different things. But I'm wanting to ask y'all which one y'all would prefer first, which one y'all would have a higher demand for, which one would help y'all more when it comes to not only watching The Chosen, but also understanding scripture and growing in Christ. That's what I want to figure out. And so that's the second announcement. That's the content we got. We got some comments here. So let's see what we got. Debbie says, love the Apostle series. Thank you so much, Debbie. I really appreciate that. I have been trying to pour my blood, sweat, and tears into that. I know that y'all probably think the videos are long, but the research takes even longer because there's a lot of stuff that's just fluff that really doesn't matter. And so I'm trying to boil that down to just the essential stuff. So thank you so much for liking that. Kim says, I like that. I love history. Yeah, so I hope to do one of those things. And then prophets, yes. Okay, so we got both. The desires there for both. Thank you, Kim. Karen says, yay, so curious about what we actually know about him. About who? Who is that talking about? Is that talking about Thomas when I mentioned him earlier? I'm not sure. But yes, whoever you're curious to know about, hopefully I will answer that question in future videos on this channel. So yeah, so that is the second announcement, right? And so you can feel free, if you haven't commented yet or something like that, feel free to let us know which one you'd prefer: a series on first century culture at the time of Jesus, you know, or a series on just walking through the prophets. And those would be kind of just like Bible studies. And that is one thing that I thought would be kind of fun as a perk for like members to do like a Bible study. The only issue is that with Bible studies, that does take time. And so I would have to find time to carve out to just sit down and do that. And so that's almost something that I would have to do after I get out of seminary. And I still have a year left in seminary because it is the longest master's degree in the world. And so that would have to be something a little bit further down the road. But I thought that'd be kind of cool to where those who like were members, we could just have like a weekly Bible study to where it's like, I don't know. I don't really know how we do that. It might not even be on YouTube. It could be like on Zoom or something where we could see each other. I think that'd be really neat, where we can see each other face to face, even if not in person. I just think that'd be really neat. But yeah, so let us know which one you would prefer. And I know that I'm doing a lot of the talking right now, but don't worry. We'll get Brienne to talk in a little bit. Right now, this is just a lot of the groundwork stuff, trying to just announce stuff. And don't worry. She's got some stuff to say in just a second. This leads us to our big announcement.
Dun, dun,
Dun, dun, dun. Okay, before we say that, Barbara says, I'm interested in the prophecies about the Messiah, some of which Jesus fulfilled 2,000 years ago, and the others that have not been fulfilled yet. Yes, that's one of the main reasons that I actually want to go through the prophets, because the way that people interact with the prophets a lot of the times is that they either don't know the prophets at all, or if they do, they only know the prophecies about Jesus, but they also don't know the context around those. And I think whenever you actually know the full context of those prophecies, it makes it even richer and better. And you also get to understand the heart of God in a way that's different than really almost any of the other books in the Bible. Because in the prophets, it's got like almost every single chapter begins with "Thus says the Lord." And so it's really cool. You get to see God's heart for his people and God's plans for his people and stuff like that. And so absolutely, I think that'd be really great. Kim says, yes, Bible studies. Yes. Nancy says, would be interesting to hear about the Old Testament prophecies coming true after an episode of The Chosen you're reviewing. Yes. I was also thinking another thing I could do is just more stuff where I'm just breaking down episodes of The Chosen a different way. Debbie says, discussion on prophets would be great. Oh, and then look, Brandon gave us a little bit of a look at that. Thank you so much, Brandon. I know how hard seminary is. I can't imagine how hard it is doing a YouTube channel on top. Keep up the great work. Everyone support this amazing channel. Oh, that's Brandon saying that. Thank you so much, Brandon. I appreciate that. I cannot thank you enough. Yes, that's thank you so much. That's humbling. But yeah, so do you want to get to the big announcement?
I'm announcing it.
Yeah, you get to announce it. You get to announce the big thing.
Oh, goodness.
You get to announce the biggest announcement in the history of announcements.
Okay. Oh, man.
Brandon actually knows about this announcement.
Oh, he does.
Yeah, Brandon knows about this because I asked him about this ahead of time. I asked, like,
yeah.
we've got our group chat.
Yeah.
We've got our YouTubers group chat, and I was like, hey, should we do this? And they were like, yeah.
Oh,
and so this is the big announcement.
Yeah.
Don't mess it up.
I know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weight on my
Yeah,
shoulders.
I know.
Okay, so
here we go.
This has been something that me and you have talked about for a while, probably a month or so. He's, toyed with the idea of doing this, and so I think we finally pulled the last straw, and we are deciding, or David's deciding, to change the channel name.
Yes. Whoa! We're changing the channel name, guys. Yeah. But why? Why are we going to change this? What can we possibly change it to? Oh my gosh, you have so many questions. What is this channel name? Like, are things going to drastically change? Let me see what the comments say. Oh, Karen says, yes, Thomas. Okay, cool. So what we're changing the channel name to is nothing mind-blowing, but the big announcement is going to be the changes that come to the channel as a result of this changed channel name. Yeah. So far, the name of the channel has been, Now Let's Be Honest About Movies. And like I said, the reason why it was called Now Let's Be Honest About Movies is because it was a side channel to my original channel, Now Let's Be Honest, and we were wanting to just make a side thing to talk about movies. Yeah. But the thing is, the Chosen kind of changed things for us, right? Because while it gave us a bigger audience, it also put us in a place where a lot of the content we're making is not even about a movie at all. It's about a TV show. Right. And it's not even necessarily just about the TV show. It's actually about just the Bible in general. Right. And so what we're going to do is we're actually going to just rename this channel. Now Let's Be Honest. Yep. Right. So we're actually going to, Now Let's Be Honest, my original channel, I'm going to change that name. That's going to be nothing. I'm probably going to call it David Tate or something like that. Yeah. This channel is now going to officially be called Now Let's Be Honest. No About Movies. And the reason why is mainly because that gives me a little bit more freedom. And I'm going to explain that in a second. I'm going to explain how that's going to affect the channel in a little bit. But first and foremost, we got to show you our new logo. Yes. Right? Because we have a new logo. Not only are we changing the channel name, this is like a whole new rebranding of this channel. It's going to be exciting. And this is where Brienne's going to get to talk to us a little bit because she's the one who designed the logo. She designed our original one. And if anything, like, I'm going to be honest, this is why it took me so long to rebrand this, because I felt guilty because she designed
I didn't want to hurt my feelings.
Yeah, she designed the original logo like 4 months ago, and I started using it. I really liked it. It's like the little like clapper thing. Yeah. I really like that. Oh, I forgot. I was supposed to have it up there this whole time. Look at this. This is the logo right up there in the corner. Yes, that is the logo that Brienne designed. I really like it. It's very simplistic. I like it. And it made me feel guilty. I'm going to take it off now. It made me feel guilty because I didn't want to ask her, like, hey, can I have a new one? Yeah. So I held off for a while, but as the channel continued to grow, I realized that it was a bit misleading for people to click on Now Let's Be Honest About Movies and most of the content not be about movies. And so we're calling it Now Let's Be Honest now. And I said, Brienne, you have total creative liberties. I need you to make a new logo for us. And so without further ado, this is going to be our new intro to the videos featuring the new logo. Y'all ready? Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, and... Right?
Pretty cool.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. Real quick, I'm going to have Brienne explain the logo in a second, just because I think it's really cool. But first, let's look at the comments here. Alone with Jesus, can you do a shout out for me? Yes, Alone with Jesus. Hello. I love the name of your channel, right? Alone with Jesus. Like, sometimes we just need time to get alone with Jesus. One of my favorite things to do is to go off to a pier that's about a half mile away from my house and just go spend time with him alone. So yes, hello, Alone with Jesus. It's good to see you. We just got a few different things. Oh boy. All right. I want to address everybody. Kim says, cool. I like the new name. Thank you, Kim. Alvina, is it Alvina or Alvina? Alvina, I think. Aloha, guys. Congrats on your 1-year anniversary. Appreciate your program. Thank you so much. Are you from Hawaii? I've actually visited Hawaii.
That's so fun.
That's really cool. Kathy gave, thank you so much, Kathy. I appreciate that. You're just awesome. Thank you for what you do. I appreciate that, Kathy. Thank you for this donation. I really do appreciate it. I can't say that enough. Like, once again, it's very humbling that people even want to listen to me.
Yeah.
I don't understand it. I don't even like the sound of my voice. Okay. Kim says, I love it. Way to go, Brienne. I
Aw, thank
100%
you.
agree. Debbie says, love the new logo and intro. Nancy says, great. Debbie says, nice. Elvina says, love it. Jules says, very cool. Barbara says, ooh, and an olive tree. Nice. Yes. All right. So real quick, I want Brienne to explain this logo. I'm going to put it on the screen for us. All right. Here is the logo. Hopefully you can still hear us. I hope you can. I probably should make sure that you can still hear us even with this on there. Can you hear us?
Comments?
Yes, you can still hear us.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I just wanted to make sure. I just turn on my audio here.
Awesome.
Brienne, explain this logo to us.
Okay, so since we changed the name, he said I had free creative liberties to this, but I still needed some direction. So I was like, okay, David, I have creative liberties, but give me some inspiration as to like what you're kind of going for. And since with the changing of the name, it's kind of more based towards biblical things, I kind of went with that. And so it's an open Bible. And then I also put the tree from the Garden of Eden in the center, and it's kind of glowing on the outside. And then that's the crown of thorns around the top. So it's kind of representing the evolution of the entire story of the Bible, all the way from the beginning, all the way to the fulfillment with Jesus. And so that was what I was kind of going for, because he kind of talks about all different types of things from the Old Testament to the New Testament. It's just kind of general and kind of covers it all.
Yeah, well, and is also, I mean, this is just something I thought of as you were saying that. The tree of life is something that's present both in Genesis and in Revelation, right? So it covers the whole thing, and right in the middle of it is the crown of thorns, you know, where Jesus is on the cross. Yeah. You have the 3 trees of the Bible, right? When creation began, there was a tree, right? Tree of life. And then in the middle of it, there was the tree of life that Jesus hung from, which gave us life. And then there's the 3rd tree of life, which we will see when we are in the restored Eden. And so, yes, I absolutely love this logo. Thank you so much for Brienne. And look, now I'm going to put that one right up there in the corner. Over here. You can see it right there. That is the logo. I absolutely love it. I think she did a fantastic job. And she's the she does a lot more to help out this channel than you probably know about, because she does a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. I'm usually the guy who's on the screen, but she's over there, she's chugging along, doing all the art and stuff, and so I appreciate that. Alvina says she's from you're from Oahu.
Oh,
that's actually where I visited. I actually went there back my senior year of high school, so that was a few years back. That was a while back, but I went there to Oahu, and I spent, I think, like a week there, maybe 2 weeks there. I think a week. And I actually ran a Spartan race there. I ran 3 Spartan races. That was the first ever Spartan race I won. And I think at the time period, I was the youngest person who have ever won a Spartan race.
Oh, yeah.
That I think somebody beat that literally like a month later. It was VJ Jones. I remember he still races a lot too. But I was in Oahu. We were at Kualoa Ranch. And so that's really cool, Alvina. Maria says, I love it. Brienne, you're very talented. I absolutely agree. She is very talented. Thank you so much. And I think that she did a fantastic job with this logo, and I'm excited for it. And we just spent so long yesterday just like trying to figure out what the best intro was. And
we have a new banner too. It uses the logo, that's why I said, but we have a new banner that's gonna match with it too. And then also we kind of made it like a simplistic logo, so that way you could make it a little less detailed. You could put it on t-shirts and make it for merch. So if at one point, maybe for like the memberships as like a reward or something, we talked about like him being able to give away shirts, and that would be something that's simple that would go on a shirt and it would look good. So.
Yeah, because I was thinking, I really like this design. If you haven't noticed, I really like the black t-shirt with the white text. It started with the Chosen, but then like I realized it pops out a lot on screen, and so I started designing shirts like this. Like this one is available on my shop thing. If you go to nowletsbehonest.com, he must increase, I must decrease, and then look, if you go on the back, it says now let's be honest. Look at that. And so I started designing that. Like I was like, okay, I really like this. I was thinking this logo would look cool if you just did a white abstract version of it, put it on a shirt. There you go. We've got merch. And so I thought that'd be really neat. And maybe if we could even find like a Bible verse that would really tie into it, we could put that on the back. Yeah. Right? Look, this is just us brainstorming right here. Just off the cuff. We can go out with a bunch of stuff. But yeah, she did a very good job. She's very talented. And I'm always impressed by all the different things she's coming up with. But we have to talk about how this is going to change the channel, right? Because we told you the name of we told you the name change, and then we talked about the logo. We have to talk about what's actually going to change in regards to the channel and why. we even needed to change it, right? Why not just leave it Now Let's Be Honest About Movies? You're still, I mean, technically The Chosen's a TV show, but like that's close enough to a movie, right? Why change this? First and foremost, I've actually got a lot of ideas for this, and the main reason I felt the need to change the name of the channel is because I wanted it to give me more freedom to make content that I think would benefit y'all. I almost felt deceptive. I know it sounds kind of silly, but on this channel, I constantly reinforce like, hey, we should be people of truth. Like we should not give people misinformation. And I think that's also in how we present ourselves, right? And I know it sounds like I'm probably taking that too seriously, but whenever people click on this channel and it says, Now Let's Be Honest About Movies, I think that you should click on the channel and see me talking about movies. Because that seems like that's the most straightforward, like that's what you should expect. And so I want to give you something that you would expect when you click on this channel. And so I think by just calling it Now Let's Be Honest, that allows me more freedom to just talk about the things I want to talk about and cater the videos towards y'all. So it'll still predominantly be chosen content, most likely. I mean, but by calling it Now Let's Be Honest, it can be, right? I'm not putting myself into a corner there or anything. I have that creative liberty. But then I also have other ideas of stuff that I would like to do. Also, Sharon said happy anniversary. Thank you so much, Sharon. And so some things I had in my mind that I kind of want to do is I want to put more biblical content out there, right? Stuff that might or might not be related to The Chosen. By calling it Now Let's Be Honest, I open myself up to that freedom, right? To where right now, when it was just Now Let's Be Honest About Movies, I kind of felt like every single thing I did, if it was biblical, had to be tied to The Chosen in some way, just so that I could kind of argue that it was kind of media related. By calling it Now Let's Be Honest, I can just do whatever. And if it gets less views, that's fine because it's not related to The Chosen. That's okay. I'm not really worried about the views. My passion is sharing the Bible with people. And so I just want to have that freedom to do that. And so I think that that's one thing. So I can post Bible studies. If I go and I preach somewhere and I have a sermon I want to share, I can post that on here. And whether people watch it or not, that's fine. I just want to have that freedom to do that. And then also it allows us to do some deep dives and stuff like that. And just, go deeper into the text of scripture where maybe we're not covering big chunks. Maybe we're just taking like one verse and be like, what does this mean? I like doing stuff like that. And I just think that this would be a good opportunity to do that. And if y'all like it, I can make more of them and stuff like that. And so that just gives me that freedom. Before I talk about some of the other ideas I have, I want to thank Sharon for the super sticker. Thank you so much, Sharon. I really appreciate it. That it once again means the world to me. I don't even know how to respond to this stuff because it's just great. But yeah, so one thing is Bible studies, more biblical content, stuff like that. And then other things are if I have songs that I write, because I do that occasionally, right? I mean, I'm not saying that I'm as amazing as David the psalmist or anything like that. And I'm really not even, I don't consider myself the best singer or the best musician, but I do really enjoy writing songs for God. And my view is that if I put it out there, maybe somebody more talented than I will come across it and say, oh, that's got a good message. They'll take that and they'll go do it better. I'm really not worried about that too much. I just want to get things out there so that God can be glorified. And so if I've got music I want to post, I used to post that on my other channel, but now I can just take it and post it on here because this does have a bigger audience and maybe it will have the opportunity to bless more people. And ultimately, I just want to do that as much as I can. And so if there's an audience, I want to share that. Karen says, oh, hard to see the crown of thorns. You might need to put some bright lights around it. We actually did talk about that. We talked about whether we might need to put the lights there. I think for the logo itself, we're going to leave it without the glow, but I might make like a variation for like if I have it on the screen, that I would do that. But I think the main logo, I actually like it without the back glow. I think it's cool just having the glow behind the tree. I know that we're spending a lot of time on this. We talked about this a lot because she asked about that. But we might put the glow back there. I'm not sure. But I actually really like the logo. But yeah, so I want to be able to put more biblical content, more music. And then I also was talking with, there's this guy up in College Station who discipled me for a few years while I was up there. I went to A&M University. And him and I were actually talking earlier today. And he just mentioned how I could use this channel to put out more stuff aimed towards discipleship. Not necessarily to where I'm discipling y'all, because that'd just be hard. Like discipleship has to be a very personal thing, but maybe more tools and stuff to help encourage people in the discipleship process. Because I think the modern church, especially the Western church, has a lot of faults. And I think one of those faults is rooted in the lack of discipleship. And discipleship is one of those things that I am passionate about in all aspects of life. Like whether it be on YouTube, whether it be at the church I work at, all that stuff. I'm really passionate about discipleship. And so I think it'd be really cool to put out discipleship content. And I don't really know what that looks like yet, but that's just stuff that's kind of running through my head. And then this is the last thing that I'll announce here that would possibly add to the channel, and this is something I just thought of like yesterday. I think it'd be kind of cool to have some praise nights. And the reason I thought about this was actually because I saw that the Snipe, like Brandon and them from the Snipe Life, I saw that they did that one night, and I just thought that was really cool. Like they just got a group of their friends together, they set up their cameras in their living room, and they just started singing. And I think that's neat. And I would love to do a live stream like that where we can be in different places at the same time and we can all just praise our God together. I mean, that's one of the beautiful things about technology. Technology, I have a lot of frustrations with it. I really I like being tech savvy, but technology kind of does frustrate me a lot. But that's one good thing, is that it allows us to communicate with people that we could have never communicated with before. Prior to YouTube, I would not be able to have these conversations with y'all. And so I think it'd be cool to have a praise night. And once again, I don't know if I would lead that. We've got some really talented people at our church who might be able to help out with that. And so I don't know. I don't know what that looks like yet, but I saw that on Brandon's channel, on the Snipe Life channel. There's two Brandons that I kind of associate with here. I saw that on the Snipe Life channel, and I just thought that was really neat. And so I thought it'd be really cool to do that, to where we could just get together and we could praise our God together as a dispersed group of believers. And so I thought that would be really neat. Kim says that discipleship is greatly needed. Awesome idea. Maria says you can see it better on your screen behind you. Yes. And then Karen says, thanks so much for your teaching on The Chosen. Really love learning about Jewish culture and history. Karen, I actually do too. I know it's one of those, it's kind of weird because whenever I'm teaching these lessons, it seems like I kind of just know this stuff, but I'm learning right alongside you. I'm just learning it maybe 2 weeks earlier. Like I'm just researching. And then once I learn it and I feel confident enough to talk about it, then I'll teach it. And I've been really enjoying this as well. And that's actually something I've probably alluded to it in some videos, probably in the earlier videos before the channel started growing. One thing that I've always wanted to do is I've always wanted to write books. And one reason I like The Chosen so much is because this show is doing in TV show format what I've always wanted to do in book format. I actually have written drafts of books that are set around the death and resurrection of Christ, right? I've got this trilogy of books planned. I would call them this: Through the Valley, Shadow of Death, Fear No Evil, right? It'd really work out. Through the Valley would cover the trials of Christ. Shadow of Death would cover his actual crucifixion, and Fear No Evil would cover his resurrection. I've already written multiple different drafts of Through the Valley, and one thing that I struggled with there is fleshing out these characters. And so doing this whole like Lives of the Apostles thing was kind of also a self-serving project, because it gave me the research I needed so that whenever I go back to rewrite that draft and maybe one day get the book published, I'd be able to actually have that information already there. And so Karen, just like you, I've really been enjoying learning about the Jewish culture and all that stuff. And I look forward to that. And Karen, look at that. Thank you so much. This is like just, wow. I don't even know how to respond. Like, this is crazy. Thank you so much, Karen. This is, wow. Just like about to start crying. Maria says, I was watching and worshiping with the Snipe Life. Yes, see, that's what I want. I don't want this channel to just be, hey, let's go watch now, let's be honest, to learn information. Right? I've never wanted that to be the case. I think that as Christians, we should be more engaged with scholarship and stuff like that, but I don't want us to be obsessed with that either. I think that there's this tension that needs to be held where we should be informed with stuff. It's not necessary, but we should be informed with it. We should try to. But ultimately, we can't lose our heart for God. And that's something even in seminary I have to constantly fight for, because seminary can be very intellectual. And sometimes it's almost like we're being tugged in the direction of the Pharisees. And I have to constantly remind myself to return back, just spend alone time with Jesus, right? To go back to the guys whose name was Alone with Jesus. You have to go back to that. And so I think it'd be really cool for all of us to get together and do that, so that this channel isn't just, hey, let's go learn information. I want it to be like, let's grow in God. And so if that's through singing, if that's through praying, all that stuff, I would love to do that. And so absolutely.
I think it makes it more personal too. Just because whenever you watch an informational video, it's easy to be very disconnected from it, especially when it's over a screen. It's a little easier if you're listening to a sermon in person, you're at church, something like that. But whenever you're watching an informational video and it's on a screen, it feels very distant from the person. But there's something that's very genuine about like just a group of people sitting together. It's not like a crazy setup that's super professional. It's just just really casual. I think it makes it more personal. It allows you to connect with people better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And speaking of connecting with people, that actually leads us to the next thing. So those are all the announcements I want to make, but this leads to the next thing I wanted to do. And this was the thing I was kind of most excited for a little bit, other than, the big announcement was that I was really excited for, but this is something I was looking forward to in this live chat, in this live stream. I just wanted to kind of introduce ourselves a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, because we spend a lot of times talking about The Chosen, and I've really enjoyed getting to know y'all a little bit in the comments. But I thought it'd be kind of cool for y'all to just know who we are.
Mhm.
You know, like I don't want it to just be. I know it sounds kind of corny. Like some people on YouTube will say we're a family. I'm not going to say that we're going to be a family because I would like to think that you and your family are closer than we will ever be unless we can connect more often. But I do want y'all to know who we are, so that because I think it's one thing you can present yourself in one way a lot of times, right? You can be very
Yeah.
deceptive, and
Mhm.
we could be one person on this screen and totally different when we're apart. We could be like, "Hey, look at me, I'm this devout Christian," but then whenever we're away from this, we could be totally different people, and you would have no way of knowing that. And we could be wolves in sheep clothing, and you would have no idea. So what I thought it'd be cool to do in this video is that I just wanted to kind of introduce ourselves, say a little bit about who we are, how we know each other, all that stuff, and then maybe give our testimonies. Just so you know, I mean, obviously we could be lying about all this stuff, but anybody can.
Right? Yeah.
Anybody can,
Yeah.
unless you've just known us and been with us every single day.
Yeah.
But I just thought it'd be kind of cool just to introduce ourselves. And also, I forgot to announce this at the beginning. If you have any questions or anything like that, this is also an opportunity for like Q&A. It doesn't necessarily have to be about us. It can be about The Chosen. It can be about the Bible, anything like that. This is a time for us to just get together, hang out. That's what this whole live stream is about. And so if you have any questions that you want us to answer or to attempt to answer, or if you want to see me blubber through attempt to try to give something in response, feel free to throw your questions in the live chat, and I'll respond to those, and she'll respond to those. And I just want to introduce ourselves, and ladies go first. And so, Brienne, tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe your testimony or something like that.
Okay, well, my name's Brienne. I guess I can say my age. I'm 20. I'm in college right now to get my bachelor's in education. I went to Lamar University for 2 years, and that's up in Beaumont. And then I transferred back home, and I go to U of H. Did you need to shout them out?
Oh, I can. I was
Okay.
just putting it on the screen so I didn't have to. But
okay.
Karen said, "Love your sweet and generous heart, and your love for God's obvious. God bless you guys. Thank you so much, Karen. I really do appreciate that. I didn't mean to cut off your train of thought.
No, it's
There.
okay.
That's why I put it on the screen, because I wasn't want to cut you off.
No, it's good. So I am a junior in college right now, and I am majoring in education, EC through 6. So I'll be certified to teach pre-K through 6th grade. Trying to think of anything else interesting about me.
I think you're a pretty interesting person. Tell us some of your hobbies. What are the different things you like?
Hobbies. I run a small business. I do hand lettering.
Yes.
So I hand letter like signs and ornaments and different things like that. I do that on my free time to just for fun. I like to do it for fun. I used to do it for my family a lot, and then a lot of people were like, "Brienne, you could start like a small business out of this." So I kind of do it to people locally, and I kind of just like put in my savings account, earn money on the side. So that's fun. I enjoy that.
What's the shout out? Like, what's your Instagram handle?
It's wordslikehoney.lettering.
Wordslikehoney.lettering.
Yeah.
So go follow her on Instagram or do something like that. And support her if you want.
More of a following. I have a Facebook group, and that's where I post more than I do on Instagram because I have a larger following of people on there, and that's just Words Like Honey, and it's a Facebook group. So you have to like ask to join it, and then I can accept you.
Yeah. There you go. So be sure, go support her. She does really good stuff. You see that logo that she made? I keep pointing over here. It's over here. This logo right here. She does stuff like that and even better stuff too. I mean, she does like all this like hand lettering stuff like that. Yeah. Go support her. She's great. Yeah. Would you like to? How should we do this? Should you just go into your testimony, or should I say a little bit about myself, then we go back and forth? What do you think?
Say a little bit about yourself.
Okay. So who am I? Who am I? Sorry, I'm a guy who likes musicals. Hence why almost everything that I say I've got a song for. My name is David Tate. This is Now Let's Be Honest. Now how old am I? 24. Yes. I'm 24. Yes, people have asked that question a lot. And I know that by my thinning hair, you might think that I'm older, but no, I am actually 24. I just have been in ministry, and specifically in youth ministry. And that results in, a few years ago, I actually had a full head of hair. It was like spiky and tall and everything, but a few years of youth ministry, it'll do it to you, So that's what happens. So I'm David. I'm 24. I live here in Seabrook. This is my house. This is actually my bedroom that we're sitting in right now. It's not a very big room. It's just kind of funny. I am currently doing a bunch of different things. I do this YouTube channel, right? That takes a lot of time. I work part-time at my church as the student ministry coordinator, which is a fancy term for a not very highly paid intern. The church I work at is First Baptist Church, Pasadena. And I work there, and I've worked there for a few years now, ever since I graduated from Texas A&M in 2018. And I'm kind of backtracking. I'm kind of jumping all over the place.
Yeah.
Okay, how about this? I went to Clear Falls High School, graduated there 2015, and then after that, I went to Texas A&M University. I studied engineering for a few years. This will come into my testimony and stuff. But then I eventually graduated, and I got a degree in business. And then from there, I went into seminary. I am currently at Dallas Theological Seminary, where I am finishing up my 3rd year pursuing a THM, which is a Master of Theology. So I don't know. That's kind of a cool title. I'll be a Master of Theology by the end. I don't know. It's just a degree. It doesn't matter that much. But yeah, so I'm at DTS right now. I've got 1 more year left. I've always had a passion for studying scripture ever since I got saved when I was like 5. It's hard for me to talk about myself without including the testimony in there. It's integrated into it. And so got saved when I was 5. I've loved studying scripture ever since then. And my passion is sharing scripture with people. And so part-time employee at the church. I started this YouTube channel a year ago. It was kind of during all the whole virus stuff, where it was like, I wanted a chance to, I started really doing that on my other YouTube channel where I started sharing more biblical content during the pandemic just to get something out there because we weren't doing that much in the church, which was very disappointing to me. And then in addition to that, one of my favorite things to do is I lead a college young adult Bible study at our church. That's on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. We're currently walking through the book of Judges. And then right after that, we finish up and we go to Chili's at 9 p.m. and we're walking through Genesis. And so in the end, we have like 4 or 5 hours of Bible study in one night. And I absolutely love that. And I'm exhausted by the end, but it's great. And yeah, so full-time student, part-time employee. And then I also do this YouTube thing. And then also trying to stay in shape. I'm a runner. I love running. This latest semester in school has kind of been so busy that I haven't been able to run as much as I like, but yeah, so that's who I am. And cool. That is who I am. Okay, now Brienne, let's talk. Now we get a little bit more intimate here, and let's start letting these people really know who we are. Because basically, what we've done, if you've watched my Lives of the Apostle series, we've given you the biographical information. Right? Here's our name. Here's all this stuff. Start telling us a little bit about your actual story. I mean, testimonies are very important. And I mean, if you go read the book of Acts, I think Paul shares his testimony like 3 times. Because it's really cool to see how God is working in the life of an individual. And so I thought one of the coolest ways to allow you to know us is by sharing that type of stuff. And so kick us off, share your testimony with us, and then I'll go after you.
Okay, cool. So my testimony is it's going to sound weird, but the testimony is kind of something that I've struggled with for a long time until recently, because I don't actually know whenever I got saved. There was times, like thinking back when I was a kid, there was times I was like, oh, I could have been saved then. And I was like, no, maybe, I don't think so. Probably not. And then I've probably got saved in high school. I think somewhere around that time. I don't have an exact date, an exact time, an exact moment. And for a long time, that really bothered me because I've always heard such a stress about it's your spiritual birthday, and you have this day and this moment, and you feel this certain way, and then you're saved. It's almost it's like the stamp of approval. It's like a confirmation.
Well, especially because we go to a Baptist church, a Southern Baptist, and that's always a big emphasis there. And I think that is one of the shortcomings that we kind of put a lot of doubt in people's heads by that. And it's ironic because a lot of Baptists do speak about having this sincere doubt over their faith because they don't remember an exact moment. And I don't think that moment is necessarily a purely biblical thing.
Yeah. So I lived with that doubt for a very long time. And then I first just kind of realized, I was like, well, it doesn't really matter what day or time or moment or anything like that you were saved. If I know that I'm saved in my heart, then that's all that matters because, well, I'm saved. And so I was like, okay, that's more of something that I think that humans just kind of naturally like to do. We like to have things structured a certain way. We want to be able to put things in a calendar or
want a timeline of events.
We want to be able to plan our lives out or know exactly when things are going to happen, but in reality it's not. So I think it's almost, and I know I'm naturally that way. So it's kind of interesting that I don't know when I was saved because I'm naturally a person that's I want to plan everything out. I want to know when things are. I want to schedule my day. And so I think it's something that God's kind of teaching me through my own testimony is that I don't need to know when all of those things are. It isn't my job to do all of that. And so, I
think that's also part of his sense of humor. I think I've noticed just the more I grow with God, I think I realize that he kind of takes the things that are maybe little quirks about us.
Yes.
And he works those out of us. Right. And so if you're a person who's I need things done my way and this stuff. Like, if you're going to try to walk with God, he's going to be like,
Mhm.
well, sorry, you're not
Yeah.
the one in charge.
Mhm.
And so if you're somebody who wants to know that time, he's probably going to make it like, okay, well, I'm going to make that time
Mhm.
ambiguous to you.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. So how do you see, I mean, this might be a kind of question that's kind of on the spot right now.
Uh-huh.
But how do you see God kind of working in your life right now? Or
Mhm.
like, how is he over the course of the last few years? Not
Yeah.
necessarily like this week, because I
Right.
think that's hard to see. How do you see him kind of working in your life over the course of the last few years, shaping you, different things he's been
Mhm.
teaching you, stuff like that?
Yeah. I think the thing I've been recently been learning a lot is what it means to truly have joy in Christ. I always heard people talk about the difference between being happy and being joyful, and that your joy can only be found in Christ. And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's right. And I always accepted it. I was like, yeah, that's right. That's yes. But I don't think I ever truly understood it until I got baptized. So I got saved probably back in high school, maybe freshman year of college at the beginning, somewhere around there. Don't know exact date, just a general time between junior year and freshman year of college. And so for the longest time, I didn't really have like being baptized. Like I knew that that's what you were supposed to do next, and that's what most people did, but I just never really thought about it. I was just
Yeah.
kind of like, oh yeah, like people get baptized, but I just kind of in the back of my mind, I guess. But it was during COVID, and our church actually shut down baptisms because of COVID and having to
Drove me
like
nuts.
dunk
Yeah.
multiple people into the water. So they kind of stopped that and being
Yeah.
like close to someone else. And me and David were actually sitting out of the park on a hammock,
Yep.
and I had asked him, I was like, "Have you ever been baptized before?" And he was like, "Yeah, like I'm not gonna say his story, but like he told me about it and everything." And I was like, "Okay, well, like I'm interested in getting baptized, but like our church hasn't been doing it for weeks." And I was struggling because I was like, well, I want to get baptized now, and I feel the Lord putting that on my heart, and I
Yeah.
really want to do that, but I physically couldn't. It was one of those things where like my church was not doing baptism, so I could not get
Yeah.
baptized, and I didn't. There's
Yeah.
another church that we kind of go to on like Wednesdays, or we go to like a college Bible study there. That's kind of separate, just where our
Yeah.
friends go. And they still had baptisms, but I didn't want to get baptized there because, well, that's not my home church. That's
Yeah.
not where I grew up with the people that I know and all of that. And so I didn't want to get baptized there. And so I was kind of having to wait, but it was cool because after we had that conversation, it was probably a week and a half.
Yeah.
And then they opened baptisms, and I was immediately able to get my name on the list. And they had the list super long, and I probably wasn't supposed to get baptized until like July, August. And then there happened to be an opening one day, and so on June 20th, which was Father's Day, was the day that I got
Hi, Angie. Sorry.
So June 20th, Father's Day, was the day I got baptized. Absolutely amazing, best thing ever.
Yeah, it's really
so
great
good.
because
oh my gosh,
every Sunday she
Oh,
always
yeah.
like tells me how many weeks is it going to be? Like tomorrow, today's Saturday, tomorrow Sunday. How many weeks is it going to be?
It should be 20.
20 weeks.
Yeah.
Literally, she gets so excited. To me, I just want to say this. I've told you this plenty of times. The joy that you've expressed over your baptism
Mhm.
is so inspirational to me. It makes me wish. I mean, obviously, whenever you get saved, I mean, baptism is kind of one of those like first steps of obedience thing.
Yeah.
But it makes me wish that I'd probably gotten baptized when I was older,
Mhm.
because you understood baptism so much more than I did at the time. Because, like baptism, in a Southern Baptist church, we kind of underplay it sometimes. We kind of make it just symbolic. But there does seem to be something going on there. Like, it doesn't save you. It doesn't do that.
No.
But it does represent something, right? It
Absolutely.
represents you going in, and it is symbolic, but we don't want to underplay the symbolism. Like this, like you're going in, and when you're coming up, you're clean.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, like this is something you emphasize when you're talking about being baptized in front of your home church.
Yeah.
It's also a rites of initiation.
Mhm.
Up until the moment you're baptized, people might be like, okay, maybe you're a Christian, maybe you're not, maybe they claim to be. But at the moment you get baptized, you're identifying yourself publicly as a Christian. And therefore, you are not only accountable to God, you're accountable to all the members of your church. And they're saying, we know that you have identified yourself as a Christian, therefore we're holding you to the standard of this holy text. And so seeing your joy in the baptism, it literally just makes me joyful, because it's really cool, like just how you grasp it. Whenever I was baptized, I'll get to that in a second, but I didn't understand it as much. I understood it was important. I understood it was like the next step, but I was so young that I didn't understand it to the same extent.
Yeah.
And so I just think it's really cool. Like literally every Sunday she'll look at me, she'll be like, 12 weeks, 13 weeks. And it's really neat just to see that excitement coming out of something that's really so simple, right? I mean, it's literally just like going into the water and coming out. But I've always thought that's really cool. Yeah. Did you have anything else you wanted to add to that, or just what's going on in your life right now?
I don't think so. I was just saying that was from that moment whenever I got baptized. From then until like this present day, I truly believe I did not know what it meant to have like joy in Christ until I got baptized. There was something about getting baptized where I think it like clicked in my brain what it was, and it was amazing. So God's been kind of guiding me through that and teaching me things through that, and it's been really awesome. So
that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That's what I've been learning lately.
All right. Well, yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And now it's going to be on YouTube forever. No, okay, so let's see. I don't even know where to start. Y'all know me. I ramble. So we're going to be here for like an hour. Just kidding. Hopefully not. Hopefully I can stay on track. My testimony is something that for the longest time frustrated me. Because for the longest time, I actually did not have a very dramatic testimony. I mean, in the last few years, that actually changed. Kim says, I actually got baptized a second time, long story, and I appreciated it so much more. Of course, I knew much more. Yeah, that's amazing, Kim. I think it's really cool when people have the opportunity to do that as well. That's cool. But yeah, my testimony is something, it always frustrated me because there was nothing dramatic in it. And people would share their testimonies, and it would be something amazing, like, crazy. It'd be like, they're like, oh my gosh, I was hooked on drugs. And then I was like, oh wow, like that's crazy. And then like God redeemed me, and I was like, oh man, okay. For me, there was nothing dramatic like that.
Yeah.
And I think it took me until college to realize that in and of itself is a pretty good testimony, because there's a lot of things that I saw my friends being tempted by, and a lot of things that just people struggled with that I didn't necessarily struggle with in the same way. Not entirely. I'll get to that in a second because I'll give you like a play-by-play. But I realized that in and of itself was a testimony to the grace of God, right? And so, people always emphasize like they want this really dramatic testimony, but I realized even if your story isn't dramatic, that still highlights the grace and the glory of God, because He was the one. Whenever I was relying on my own strength, I would sin. I would fall into sin. It would be terrible.
Yeah.
But by His grace, He would kind of preserve me. So I didn't have anything dramatic. And so I came to appreciate it kind of in college. Alone with Jesus says, I love your channel. Thanks for the shout out. Well, there you go. There's another shout out. Alone with Jesus. Look at this. I'll even put you on the screen again. Right there. Boom. You are right there. Yeah. So I believe I got saved when I was 5. And I really don't like a lot of our terminology in churches. I don't like using the word saved just because, I think I am saved, but it seems like the way that Paul talks about it in the scriptures is that, yes, you are saved in the past, but you also are being saved right now. So there is this moment where you place your faith in Christ, and at that moment, you become a saved individual. But salvation doesn't culminate until we stand before Christ in glory, in our resurrected bodies, standing before Him. And so I like to view salvation as an ongoing process, and not in the way where it's like you're getting more and more saved. It's just we're saved and we're growing in sanctification, and we're building up to that day when we will be transformed and we'll stand before Him. And so I like to view it that way, to where my testimony is really just my entire life. And so I believe that began when I was 5 years old. I was young. I grew up to where my parents sent me to a private school. I went to First Baptist Academy. It's actually really cool. That's the church I work at right now. The private school there is the school that I went to as a kid. I went there through 8th grade. And I was in chapel one day, and I think it was on my dad's birthday. It was March 19th, 2003. I was sitting there in chapel, and I don't know who was talking. I don't know what they were teaching about, but I was sitting there, and I had this conviction. I realized I am a sinner who deserves to go to hell, which is a scary thought as a 5-year-old. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I went home and I was crying, and I told my parents, I was like, I need to get saved. And the fact that I cried that out means that I probably did. That's another thing. I don't really like the whole sinner's prayer thing, because I think that people start putting their trust in like magic words. The more you get to know me, you'll see that I have very strong opinions about almost everything. But so it seems like that was the day when my heart really flipped. And so I wouldn't know like a specific moment because I don't know that, but it seems like it was around then, because that seems to be when it clicked for me. And it just happened to be, I was so young, I couldn't help but express it. Real quick, Kim says, I agree, David, and Alone with Jesus. How did you make that logo? How did you make that logo? What What programs you use?
I used Procreate on my
Procreate.
iPad. Yeah, it's one that you have to buy, but I do a good amount of digital art, so I think it's only like $10 and it's a
Okay.
one-time buy. But they have other free apps that you can use, but
Yeah.
it's just an app on my iPad.
And the stuff that I use to make these, I actually use Autodesk Sketchbook, which is a free app, and I have absolutely loved it. And
Yeah.
it's good. And that's because I was familiar with Autodesk from my years in high school in
Mhm.
engineering. But we're not there yet. We're still at 5 years old. So I think I got saved when I was 5 years old, and I believe I got baptized a week later. Right. So literally it was like, okay, that was the thing. Like I went forward in church. I told them that I believe I had accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior, which once again, not a big fan of that terminology because it's almost like we have multiple Lord and Saviors to choose from, and I'm just accepting Jesus as mine. I think that a better way to view it is that there is a king over all the universe, and we need to submit to him. So I don't think I would have understood that at 5 years old, though, right? At 5 years old, they said, accept Jesus as Lord and Savior. I was like, okay. So I told them that I wanted a relationship with Jesus. I got baptized a week later, and this is cool. I was baptized. My pastor's name is John Redmond, right? And I was baptized by John, and I go to a Baptist church.
John?
So I was baptized by John the Baptist. So that's kind of cool. Kim says, I don't like the sinner's prayer either. Karen says, I think the younger you are when you're born again, the less likely you are to remember. I think that's true as well. Because also just distance, memories fade and stuff. So I don't even remember like the emotions or anything behind it. I just remember realizing I needed Jesus. And so I got baptized. And then over the course of the next few years, the reason why this is so elaborate, by the way, is because I actually had I used to lead a spiritual formation group in my DTS, like in my seminary studies. I was part of like a group of guys. We got together every week, and one entire semester, our whole thing was telling our testimonies. And so I have like an entire presentation that I considered putting on here, but I decided not to. So that's why it's so detailed, because I've thought through this stuff a lot, and I journal a lot, so I reflect on a lot of things. But for the majority, probably from the age of 5 till 17, I think that I was probably a straight up Pharisee. I think I was a saved Pharisee, but I was a Pharisee. I don't think it started off that way. But I know, like I said, I went to private school through 8th grade. And I really, like I said, I've always enjoyed studying the Bible. And so I studied the Bible, and I remember even at a young age, there was this pride, which I think that they kind of encouraged a little bit, because we'd play these games, and, it was like, who could flip to the Bible passage the fastest? Or we would do Bible trivia games. And like, I would always be the fastest person to flip to a passage. I would always be the winner of the Bible trivia games. They would have the whole class go against me, and I would win. And I remember even at a young age, I took pride in that. And in a way, they're kind of encouraging it by making this a game, which I don't think there's something inherently wrong with Bible trivia games. I think they're fun. But I noticed, like, even then, like, I can still remember those feelings. At the time, I didn't think they were bad. I was just like a kid. But very early on, I started taking a lot of pride in the fact that I knew the Bible fairly well. And that I could lead it fairly well. And so my 8th grade year, I transferred to public school, mainly because there were some shifts going on in the private school at the time. And also, I thought I was going to be going into engineering. And so the school that I went to had a lot more engineering programs and stuff like that. And so I transferred over to public school for high school. And while I was there, I think it increased all the more. Right. I mean, I think it was really cool how we did it, because I grew up in a Christian community, and then I transferred into something that was a little bit less Christian. And then whenever I went to A&M, it kind of just paved the way a little bit. So it was like a funneling out process, which was nice. But when I went to public school, I saw a lot of the people around me doing stuff that I just really did not like. I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. And so I think it almost made me become even more self-righteous, because I started viewing myself as superior to them, right? I don't think I think this is all with reflection, right? I don't think at the time I was going around puffing my chest or anything. I just think this was an inner thought in my head, where I just thought, I'm a more Christian guy. And one thing that highlighted this to me is that there was this one guy named JT Ford. JT, and I'm saying his name because I don't care. Maybe he doesn't want me to. JT is one of my best friends. Clinton says, happy to hear your testimonies. Thank you so much, Clinton. I'm happy to share them. JT Ford was a guy who, I remember my 8th grade year, I started running in my 7th grade year, and 8th grade, I got permission to run in the public school track meets, or cross country meets. And I remember at that 8th grade track meet, I wanted to I was going to start running, but I was literally the only person there. I was in like this ugly cross country suit that was like, a private school suit. I was the only person on the cross country team. And so I'm standing there. People started making fun of me because I was in like a weird outfit. And I was like, well, this is a great impression of public school. Oh, great. And keep in mind, I was thinking I'm about to go to public school.
Yeah.
But I ran this race and I was in first place the entire way, right? The entire race, and I think it was because I wanted to show people up. Like they were making fun of me. I was like, I'm going to show you up. And so I ran the race. I was in the lead. And at the very end of the race, this kid passes me. Later on, I go to learn that this guy's name is JT Ford. Fast forward a little bit. I transfer to public school. I get there. People tell me, hey, David, you're a Christian. You're a good biblical Christian. You should meet JT Ford. He's also a really good Christian. And I think this is whenever I began to realize that I might be a little self-righteous because I avoided JT Ford for 3 years. And it's not because I didn't want to meet another Christian. It was because I was afraid he might be more righteous than I was. And I wanted to be known as the good Christian guy.
Yeah.
And as long as I wasn't around him, we could have our own separate camps. And so I kind of avoided him for a bit. And then eventually I met him and we bonded and we became like best friends. And he's still one of my best friends to this day. He's a missionary off doing amazing things. He's actually in town right now, I believe, for a few more weeks. And so I've gotten to see him a few times. He was actually in the Day in My Life video that I did a vlog a few weeks ago. He was actually in that. Him and his girlfriend were there. But JT, one of my best friends, but I avoided him for a bit because I was self-righteous. Clinton says, we'll have to get back to the recording later. It's Sunday morning here. So yeah, go to sleep or go to church, do all that stuff. I totally understand, Clinton. So JT and I, we ended up becoming really best friends and stuff like that. But it finally took to my senior year in high school when I think really God just really hammered me down to the ground, where there was just a series of different events that kind of just put me in a really bad state of mind. You can go ask my mom about it. She remembers this clearly. Like I was in this room crying my eyes out just over just different things that had happened. And I ultimately realized a lot of these things were my own fault. And a lot of it arose from my own self-righteousness. And this is where I started going to that pier out at the park. Right? There's this park, there's a park about a half mile away from my house. I would go there every day. I would get out of school and instead of doing homework, I would just go out to the pier and this is where I started journaling as well. I got a journal and I started writing down my prayers to God. And I was like, God, why are you allowing this to happen to me? Why am I like I was genuinely depressed. I was probably straight up depressed in the pits, like just as deep as you can go for like 3 straight months. It was terrible. And then in the end, I realized it wasn't God doing it to me at all. It was literally just me. And I realized that the depression was just coming from me being so self-focused on myself. And the reason why this clicked was because I remember one day I went to school and I was always known as being like this bubbly and joyful, always energetic guy. And one person came up to me and they said, David, you look sick today. And I was really confused because I didn't feel sick. And I walked into the bathroom and I looked in the mirror and I wasn't green. I wasn't anything like that. I just wasn't smiling. And that joy wasn't in my eyes. And I realized that all because I wasn't joyful, somebody thought like I noticed that people will notice how you act. And I realized, why am I not joyful? Like I believe in this Savior. And like then I remember I went home, I cried out to God and I said, God, like what am I doing? Like I've just been so self-focused that my own like frustrations with the things I'm doing, it's affecting other people. And it was this very convicting moment where I realized something needs to change. And to be continued, Karen says, I was sprinkled at my first baptism almost 30 years ago. So when I went to Israel with my church in France, which is charismatic, I was baptized in the Jordan River where we think Jesus was baptized. Also, that's something I skipped. I actually was baptized a second time, but I was baptized by the same person.
John.
Yeah. And this time it was in Israel at the Jordan River. So not only was I baptized by John the Baptist, I was baptized by John the Baptist in the Jordan River. That's pretty cool, right? I know. It's pretty neat. I really, I love it. I cannot mention that second baptism without making that joke. So thank you, Karen, for mentioning that so that I could throw that out there. But yeah, so I got to this moment. I went out to the pier. I prayed to God. I said, God, I've messed up. These last 3 months of depression, it's not like a mental illness issue. It's literally just me being curved inward. I mean, this is what the old, a lot of the old church fathers and stuff would say. They would say that our hearts are incurvatus in se. We are curved inwards on ourselves. And that's where I realized my lack of joy was coming from. And there's this phrase that my dad always said to me. He always said, keep a smile on your face. Don't let anybody steal your joy. And I don't think I ever really processed. Honestly, I didn't realize how applicable that was to my testimony until just now as I'm saying it. But that's exactly what clicked in my head. People noticed that I wasn't smiling and they noticed that my joy was gone. That's crazy. I never made that connection. But that's why I always end that, because that's something my dad always said to me growing up. Keep a smile on your face. Don't anybody steal your joy. Keep a smile on your face. Don't anybody steal your joy. He always said that to me. And so I went out to the pier. I prayed to God. And this is where I finally told God, I surrender everything to you. I will go wherever you want me to go. I will do whatever you want me to do. I just have one request. Don't send me into ministry. Well, as you can see, I'm in ministry now. And so if that doesn't tell you about the character of God, I don't know what does. And this is one of those things I don't typically, I'm not one of those people who thinks that you're always going to hear like an audible voice from God. But there's two moments in my life where I think I might have heard a somewhat audible voice. This was the first one. I was standing on the pier. I said, I'll do anything, just don't send me into ministry. And I can almost swear I heard a laugh. I don't know. I don't know if like I actually heard it, or if I just knew God's character so well that I knew I sealed my fate at that moment.
Yeah.
Because just think about what I just said. I just prayed to God and I said, God, I give you everything except for one thing. Well, God is a jealous God. He wants our everything. And so if you say, I give you everything except one thing, what's he going to do? He's going to ask for that one thing. And so by saying, I give you everything, just don't send me into ministry, God's like, well, now you're going into ministry. Okay. But I didn't want to, right? And so I didn't actually mean I surrender everything. And so I've been studying engineering all through high school. I went off to A&M and I continued to study engineering, because the reason I said don't send me into ministry is because that sounded terrifying to me. When you read the Bible, there's this heavy emphasis on like, not all of you should be teachers because teachers will be judged more strictly. I led Bible studies throughout high school. I did all that stuff. But going into ministry, I mean, that took a little bit too much faith for me. First off, I mean, ministry is a big question mark when it comes to pay. And also just there's a lot of responsibility there. Like there's this weight to teaching the word of God, and I just didn't want to deal with that. And so I didn't want to go into ministry. And so I went off to A&M. I went into engineering. And Karen says almost exactly 11 years after me, I was born again, March 18th, 1992. Oh, wow, that's cool. Yeah, because I was say March 19th of 2003. Yeah, that's amazing. That's really cool. We almost share spiritual birthdays, just one day off. Yeah, so I went off to A&M and I studied engineering because I did not want to go into ministry. And I noticed as I was at A&M, this is cool because, like I said, I've been journaling for years. And you can look at my journals and you can see that while I'm off, by literally the very first week at A&M, I'm writing down, God, I'm lonely. I'm depressed. Like this joyful, exuberant, and energetic guy. I went off to A&M and I was just in the pits of despair. And it would be like up and down, up and down. I noticed that I was more depressed. I was less joyful. I started sinning more. And I knew something was wrong, right? And I was good at engineering, so I kept doing it. And I saw a lot of my friends dropping out, and I'm stubborn, so I was like, I'm going to push through. But I knew something was wrong. And I started leading a lot of Bible studies during this time period. And a lot of people would come up to me and they say, David, I think you're supposed to be in ministry. And I was like, no. I don't want to do that. I'm going in engineering. And I kind of told myself what I'd do is I'd go into engineering and I do that for a few years. I get some money. And then once I was ready, then I would go into like I do engineering for a bit, gain some money, and then maybe I'd like retire and go write some books or something. But the thing is, I don't think that would have worked. I think I would never have had enough money, and so I think God needed to do something drastic. And so finally it got to the point where there was actually I was actually dating this girl, and she one of the most amazing people I've ever met. And she's actually the one who convinced me to go into ministry. It was a long list of stuff, but she's the one who actually talked. She's like, David, I think you're supposed to be in ministry. And just different things happened to where it was almost an impulsive decision. I was in engineering. I was getting to the end of my second year at A&M. I had to have a mandatory advising appointment because they had to do that every semester. And for some reason, I tried to schedule this appointment again and again and again, and they kept misscheduling me. And so I'd go up there and they couldn't meet with me. And it got to the point where literally I only had one more day to do this, and then they still didn't do it. And I remember I called my mom. I was like, Mom, I don't even know if they care that I'm here. I mean, like A&M has an amazing engineering program, but like I want to be successful in this, but it's like I'm miserable and I don't want to do this. And then I remember I was on the phone and I joked around and I said, you know what? I'm just going to drop out of engineering and go into ministry. And my mom was like, are you really? And I was just joking. But when she said, are you really? I said, yes. And I went back to my house, like the townhome I was staying in. And I walked into my living room and my roommate was standing there. His name's Matt, also a really great guy. I stayed with him all 4 years. And he looked at me. He said, "What's going on?" And I said, "I'm getting out of engineering. I'm going into ministry." And that is probably the first time that Matt ever hugged me.
Mhm.
And he said, "It's about time." And I was like, "Wow, okay." So he's like, "Yes." And Matt's in engineering as well. And he's still like, he did his master's, all that stuff in engineering. He's great at it. But he knew my calling was in ministry. And I think that's how you kind of know when you do have a calling. It's usually the opposite of what you want to do. And so I decided to go to ministry. And I realized if I'm going to go into ministry, I can't just half do it. I need to switch out of engineering. Because first off, engineering takes up a lot of time. And I don't know if I'm guaranteed tomorrow. And so if God has a calling on my life, I've already been running from it for 2 years, right? Because it's senior year of high school, 2 years later, I've been running from it for 2 years. I don't want to be Jonah anymore. I need to repent. I need to give God everything. And so I needed to switch into a degree that allowed me to, to devote more time to ministry, to Bible study, stuff like that. And so I told my parents I need to switch into something. I was just going to change into a religious degree, which is going to be very easy. My dad did not like this. He got very upset. I don't blame him. He had my best interest at heart. My dad, his family was very poor, and then he became fairly successful, and he wanted me to be even more successful. And engineering is a very successful job. And so I get where he was coming from. And I think he might have thought that maybe this was just like a spur of the moment thing where it was like just going to pass. He drove up to A&M. It's a 2-hour drive, 2.5-hour drive from my house to A&M. Him and I met at like 5 a.m, I believe, at Kettle Restaurant, over there in College Station, and we talked for a bit. And it was a pretty brutal conversation because he was saying, "David, I don't know if you should be doing this." And I was like, "Dad, I have to. I've been running from God long enough. I need to do this." And eventually we took a middle ground, right? He said, "Okay, how about this? Instead of you doing religious studies, instead of you doing engineering, do a business degree because business will be effective. It'll help you out for ministry, but it's also something you can fall back on in the event this isn't like your actual calling." And I was like, "Okay, fair enough. Y'all are the ones paying for my schooling. Absolutely, I'll do that." And so what I did is I majored in um, religious study. No, I majored in business with minors in religious studies and communications. And around this time period, I realized, okay, if I'm going to be serious about ministry, what I need to do is I need to find somebody who can show me how to do that. I originally contacted my home church, First Baptist Pasadena, the place where I work, and I said, "Hey, would it be possible for me to like shadow one of the pastors?" And they said, "I'll do you one better. We'll give you a job." And so during my summers, I would go home and I would actually work as an intern at the church. But I still knew I needed a mentor of some sort. I needed somebody who could show me how to do ministry. And so I started praying about it. And I was like, "God, I need help. I need you to show me how to do ministry." And God's faithful to this, right? And one day, that girl I was dating, I was still dating her at this time period. I was leaving her house one day because she was going to host like a girls' Bible study. And I left her house. And this is the second time that I feel like I actually heard an audible voice from God. I don't know if I did or not, but it seems like it might not have been an audible voice, but it was definitely like a shove. Because I remember it was on Halloween night. Wow. That's actually really weird. It was actually, let's see, it was almost 4 years ago to this day. It was Halloween of 2017. I remember that because it was the 500th year of the Protestant Reformation, right? It was Halloween night. I left her house. It was freezing cold outside. It was pitch black. We were in Bryan, Texas, which is a little bit of a sketchier area than College Station, in the neighborhood we were in specifically. So it's pitch black, freezing cold. It started pouring down raining. And as I walked outside, I was going to head home. And then I had like this voice in my head say, "Go for a walk." And I was like, "Go for a walk? Why would I go for a walk?" It's like I knew that this wasn't me saying this because I just wanted to get in the warmth of my car and drive home. But it was like, "Go for a walk." And so I was like, "Okay, whatever." I threw my stuff in my car. I just took my keys. I left my phone and everything in the car, and I went for a walk. And I was like, "Okay, maybe I just need to pray to God." And so here you have this guy, me, walking through the pitch black in the freezing rain, and I'm just going for a stroll. And as I'm walking, I hear this person yell out, "Would you like a hot dog?" And I was like, okay, I don't know what's weirder. They probably think that I'm a drug addict just walking down the road, but then they also just offered me a hot dog in the freezing rain. And I was like, one of us is weird, but maybe this is why maybe this is why I needed to go for a walk. And so I went over to these people, and there's this family. They were set up underneath a tent. And underneath this tent, it was this man, his wife, and their, I think 7 kids at the time. They have like 8 now. So, I think it was 7 at the time.
Mhm.
They had their 7 kids, and what they were doing is they were, instead of handing out candy, they were actually handing out hot dogs because they were trying to have conversations with people. And in addition to this, they were also handing out Christian movies, Christian books, Christian CDs,
Mhm.
Christian like gospel tracts. And I was like, this is weird.
Mhm.
And so I was like, okay, like they were looking at me like, oh my gosh, this guy's a drug addict.
Mhm.
Like who's walking at this time of night in this freezing rain? And so I walk up to them and I introduce myself. I said, hi, I'm David. And the guy introduced himself as Darren.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay. And we started talking and I was like, what do you do? And he says, I'm a discipling evangelist. And I was like, a discipling evangelist? And immediately my ears are like perking up.
Mhm.
What does a discipling evangelist do? And he says, well, my whole job is to go around, find young Christian college students and disciple them and train them up for ministry. And I was like, you're kidding me. No way. I literally stood there and I talked with Darren for probably 2 or 3 hours. I was drenched in cold rain. I think I got sick afterwards.
Mhm.
But it was one of the best conversations ever.
Mhm.
Right? We talked and it came to be that like we shared a lot of the common concerns. Like one of the main reasons why I ended up deciding to go into ministry is because I saw so many issues in the modern church and I didn't see enough people addressing them. And I was like, okay, if nobody's going to address them, I'll try to address them myself. And so that's one of the things that I was voicing to Darren. And we were talking about these, and like he had a lot of the same concerns. I was like, I could learn a lot from this guy. And so I gave him my number. It was funny because he had to trust me because, like I said, my phone was back in my truck. So he just had to assume that I wasn't giving him a fake number. And we started meeting up a lot. And we started meeting up almost every week. And we were supposed to meet up for like 1 hour a week, but we met up for like 3 hours each time because we just have so much to talk about. And this guy, so formative in my life. I was talking to him earlier today, and he's actually going to be a mentor for me again for my final year of seminary, which is really exciting for me. And I'm very grateful for that. But yeah, so I was hanging out with Darren a lot, and he helped me understand ministry. Eventually, that girl that I was dating, her and I broke up. And at the time, I'd been going to church with her. And the reason we broke up wasn't because we like got in an argument or anything like that. It was just because we genuinely thought that God was leading us in different directions. Like we genuinely thought, hey, I think we could both serve God better if we were apart. And so we're still, like, even to this day, we're still really good friends. And so we decided to break up. We parted amicably, and we thought it would be smarter to go to different churches just so that we didn't have that temptation to get back together because we genuinely thought God was leading us apart. And so I needed a new church. This is for my final semester at A&M. And so I asked Darren, hey, is there a church that you could recommend to me? And he says, there's this church called Northview Baptist in Bryan, Texas. They've got this young guy who they just hired up as a pastor, and he could probably use your help. And so I was like, okay, sure. And so I walked into Northview Baptist. It's a tiny little church. I love tiny churches. I walked in there and I introduced myself and I said, hey, my name's David. Darren sent me. Is there any way that I can help you out? And I didn't know this until the guy's name was Grant and his family, and then they live in Colorado now. I'm just like calling out all these people. Hopefully they're fine with me mentioning them in this video. But I started working with them, right? Not like on like I wasn't on the payroll or anything like that. I just was serving at the church. And there was something about this close-knit like body of believers in this tiny little church that I just absolutely loved. And I was allowed to start preaching on Sunday nights every now and then. And then finally Grant allowed me to preach a Sunday morning service. And I got to preach my first ever Sunday morning service. I preached on Psalm 63. I think I called it The Purpose of Praise because I love Psalm 63. And Grant shared a story at the beginning of that, which was just amazing. Before he introduced me, I was in the back. I was praying before I came out there because I was like dead nervous. And I'm still always nervous before I teach about the Bible because I think it's a big task. But Grant came out there and I didn't hear this. I didn't see this story until I watched the recording later. But Grant came out and he said that the night before he met me, him and his wife were just, I mean, he was a new pastor. He didn't have seminary training, anything like that. He felt overwhelmed because there was just so much to do at this church. And him and his wife had gotten on their knees. They had bowed down and they said, God, what we would love is if somebody just came in, introduced themselves, and asked if we needed help. And then I came in the next day, and that's what happened. And I was like, just reading, I was like, wow, this is so, like, it's cool just seeing how God works through all this different stuff. And so I only spent a semester at that church because then I graduated and I came back home and I started working like full-time, part-time. You know, like I wasn't just working on the summers at First Baptist Pasadena. I've been working there consistently since. But during that one semester, I learned so much about what it means to love people. And I had this like renewed fire that whenever I came back to my home church in Pasadena, I wanted to do things differently. And so I started leading like the college Bible study, stuff like that. And I wanted to treat it almost like it's a mini church, because the church I work at, it's a mega church. I'm not usually the biggest fan of mega churches, but I think that you can still do work within them. And so I tried to treat the college group like its own little mini church and stuff like that. And so that's basically what's been going on since then. The only other things that I need to mention when it comes to testimony, I know I've rambled on a long time, but that's because that's what I said I would do, you know? And so sorry if I rambled on long, but I do that. The only other things that I need to probably mention are some of the recent developments that have happened in my life, which you will probably know about if you have watched this channel long enough. For a long time, I mean, I've mentioned that girl that I dated for a while. Whenever we were dating, a lot of times I would talk to her, and I would voice my concerns with her about the fact that I'd had such an easy life. Right? This is when I'm wrestling through that whole thing about my testimony not being super dramatic. And I was wrestling through this, and I told her, I was like, I really think that God might put me through something very difficult. And I wasn't sure, like, it sounded almost proud to say that to me. And I wasn't sure, but it seemed like I was raised by two loving parents. I was very privileged. I'm an only child, all that stuff. Karen says, haha, yep, that's God's sense of humor. It absolutely is. And I just had this feeling, I've been raised with a silver spoon. And I just had this lingering feeling, I think God's going to do something that's really difficult to me. Mainly because I really want to be used by God. And when I read the Bible, anybody who's used by God has to go through something difficult. And so I'm not going to be so proud as to say that this is guaranteed, but I just had this lingering feeling something's going to happen. And so, I graduated college, I went home, I started working at the church, and it was all fine. And then the pandemic hit, and things were still going fine. But then one day, May 8th, 2020, about almost a year and a half ago now, my life changed forever. Because one person I haven't mentioned a whole lot in this story is my father. But my father and I, we have always been like two peas in a pod. He was always like my best friend, And during this whole pandemic stuff, we just kind of been, he's been working out a whole lot and everything like that. And him and I decided to go ride our bikes one day. And this is going to be a sad story, so I'm just going to prepare you for it now. Him and I decided to go ride our bikes. And while we were riding our bikes, he crashed his bike. We were out in the middle of the woods. He was going up this ramp and he crashed and he flipped, and he died in my arms like 30 seconds later. And so you go from this moment where two best friends are just hanging out with each other, having a great time. 30 seconds later, he's gone. Less than a day later, I'm setting up this. I'm meeting up at the funeral home, setting up his funeral. Less than a week after that, I'm officiating his funeral, because he had always said that when he died, he wanted me to officiate his funeral. Once I went into ministry, he was like, okay, you've got to. But I think we expected it to be later on, So that was actually the first funeral I ever officiated was my father's. And then the second one I'm officiating is actually later on this week. But so that was hard, right? Because I had to learn how to minister during this time. And I kind of felt like Ezekiel a little bit. I've been telling you about Ezekiel where there's this moment in the book of Ezekiel where God turns to him and says, I'm going to take the delight of your eyes away in a moment. And you're not going to mourn. You're not going to weep. You're going to minister to the people. And in a way, that's what it kind of felt like, because I didn't really I didn't really get to grieve over my father for almost like a month, it seemed like, because after he died, so many people were over at my house all the time, and I had to officiate the funeral. And it seemed like that was more a time to just minister to them, to where everybody else is grieving. I was the last person with him. And so I just spent time, like I remember the day after he died, a lot of my family like stayed over at my house, and I just didn't know how to respond to this. And I could tell they were all crying and stuff. And so what I did, I sat down and I started playing a Phil Wickham song on piano. I started playing When My Heart Is Torn Asunder. And I just started singing it. And I noticed that it encouraged people. And then later on that week, I led our Bible study. And I tried to just treat things like normal, because I wanted to show people what I thought was a proper response to grief when you have Christ in your life, right? And I wanted to say, hey, we don't have to grieve as people without hope. We can grieve with joy. And so, yes, my father has departed, but you know what? I still got God. And so I try to use that as an opportunity to minister. And I think that God really did help me understand a lot about ministry during that time period. And I'm still working through the grieving process, right? I mean, even a year and a half later, I still miss my dad. And there's also just these memories that are stuck in my head that I cannot get out. Every time I close my eyes, they're there. but God's good through all that. And so I get to see how God's shaping me there. And then one other event that I can mention is I almost died in the Grand Canyon a few weeks ago, but that's not too big of a deal. We were doing this rim to rim hike, and I was on a medication at that time that it actually dehydrated me. I didn't really think about that before I went to the Grand Canyon, but the medication was actively dehydrating my body. And so we have this 24-mile hike across the Grand Canyon, and I was 15 miles in, 9 miles left, literally at the bottom of the canyon. It's noon. It's 110 degrees outside, and I get severely dehydrated. And if you know Jonathan, who's been in some of our videos, he was actually with me during this whole trip, and it was cool. David and Jonathan, right? Biblical. He was with me through a lot of that, and him and I had some really heart-to-heart conversations where I was like, Jonathan, I might not make it out of this. But at the same time, I was content, because I was like, I mean, there's worse ways to go. I was in like one of the most beautiful places on earth, just like looking at God's creation. But I also thought, no, I don't think God's done with me yet. And so I pushed through 9 miles, dehydrated, not a fun time, but I did make it out. And so that was also a very formative thing that I'm still working through. That's also why I've actually put on a little bit of weight and stuff. I've been having a tough time getting back into working out a lot because I think my body's still suffering from some ramifications of that. But there's my testimony so far. That's where I'm at. I know that mine was much longer than Brienne's, but that's because I ramble a lot. So I apologize for my rambling, but I try to make it to where the stuff I'm saying at least has content to it, so it's not just repetitive. Patricia says, I know how that feels. And yeah, it's sad. It's hard to lose a parent. It's hard to lose a loved one in general. I mean, like I said, I'm officiating another funeral at the end of this week, and I met with that family today, and it's just hard. It's hard, but the cool thing is that if our loved ones are in Christ, whenever we bury them, we know we're not burying them. We know that, we're burying their body, but their soul is still alive, and we get to see them one day. And if anything, we can be jealous of them because they're with Christ. And so there's something where it's like death. I think it's supposed to hurt because it reminds us that things aren't how they should be, right? This isn't how things were meant to be. Things were meant to be different, but we live in a corrupted world that's been corrupted by sin. And so I think we have to feel that pain because it's that thing that Solomon talks about in Ecclesiastes, where our hearts long for eternity. God's placed eternity in the heart of man, to where we recognize that this isn't how things are supposed to be. There's something greater out there. And so, yeah, there's my testimony. Minister Brick Films, that's cool, says, what a great channel. Thank you for what you do. Don't forget to pray and read the Bible. God bless you. Absolutely. Don't forget to pray and read the Bible. I think those are important. I think my prayer life is actually something I need to personally work on a whole lot. I think I kind of intermix praying with my journaling, and I used to be a lot more consistent with like setting aside time to pray, but I want to do that more. Kim says, I remember the first time I heard this about you and your dad. Still sad to hear, and I'm still praying for you. And you will always have those memories, and it's okay. Your dad died suddenly in 1997. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I mean, I do have those memories, and it was a great time. I feel bad because Brienne actually never got to meet my dad. But that's actually a little thing. Through his death is actually kind of how we started getting to spend more time with one another. So you see how God's actually working even through that. And so that's cool. But I wish you'd gotten to meet him. He was a good guy, really good dad. But yeah, I'm sorry, Kim. That's hard to lose a parent, and I wish that I didn't know that feeling yet, but I do. But yeah, so that's basically the main stuff we wanted to talk about today. I mean, unless y'all have any like Q&As or something that you wanted to talk about, I think we can actually start wrapping this up. Thank you so much for watching with us. I mean, I've noticed there's like 36 people watching, which is honestly way more than I expected. I thought there would be like 3 of us. So I really appreciate y'all watching this. Minister Rick Films, I really like your channel. God's at work through this channel. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I hope that God is at work through this channel. I want this to be something that serves him. I don't want it to just be like a pride thing where I just get to put my face on the internet. I want it to be a thing that serves God. And so I pray that that's what's happening. Maddie Fidgets 101. Hi, I just subbed. Can I please have a shout out? Yes. Here you go. You get to be on the screen, Maddie Fidgets. Look at that. You are there. There's your shout out. Thank you for loving this channel. I love all of y'all for being here. It really means a lot to me. I know that, it's kind of weird saying that. It really does agitate me a little bit when a lot of YouTubers like try to treat their subscribers like their family.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to do this in a way to where we can get as close to that as possible. Like I'm trying to do it to where, we just spent like an hour and a half just talking about who we are so that you can know that. And so, I want this to feel a little bit closer. I mean, it won't be quite a family, That really your church family, you're like your church home, that should be your family. But I hope that we can try to kind of get closer to that through this. And so, yeah. Let's see. Magic Fidget. Oh, same 0% me, 100% Jesus. Absolutely. You guys are amazing. Thank you, Maddie Fidgets. Hadley Crane. It's nice to see other Reformed Christians in my generation. Here in Massachusetts, we have very few. Yes, Reformed. This is just a clarification I'm going to make real quick, just because I like making clarifications here and being careful with words. When it comes to being Reformed, I'm Reformed in the sense of the Protestant Reformation, like I'm a Protestant. I am not Reformed in the sense of Calvinist, though. That's just something that I really don't talk about that too much because I don't think it's that important when it comes to salvation, stuff like that. I mean, at DTS, at my seminary, everybody's Calvinist. I'm not quite a Calvinist. And so if that's what you mean by Reformed, I'm not that. But it is good to see fellow Christians. So that's great. It's good to meet you, Hadley. Kim says people are afraid to grieve these days too. I think it causes others to feel guilty. Let me just put that on the screen so y'all can see what I'm saying. We love on court. We love ones, of course. They can't wait. I'm trying to. Okay. We love ones, of course, can't stay stuck there, but we need permission to grieve. No, we do need permission to grieve. I mean, we just have to remember to grieve as those who have hope, right? The way that we grieve should be different than those who do not have Christ. And I think that's the issue. I mean, we should be able to grieve, but there should be a noticeable difference. You were talking earlier about the difference between joy and happiness. That's key, right? I mean, that's why I always say, keep a smile on your face, don't let anybody steal your joy. That's something my dad passed to me, and I always say it because we can't let people steal our joy. Whenever my father died, I was not happy, but I still had that joy. And whenever I was still holding him, waiting for the paramedics to arrive, I started singing a song to God because that joy can still be there, but we do need to grieve. Kim says, question, how did you and Brienne meet? Oh, boy. Okay, Brienne, you want to take that off since I've been talking so long?
Okay, sure. So I was actually thinking about this earlier today. So I think it was 20...
Also, real quick, sorry. If you hear me sniffling a lot, I've got a little bit of a cold, so I apologize if you could hear that through the microphone. I just wanted to apologize real quick because I'm just going to be sniffling while she's talking. Okay, sorry. Go.
Yeah. So 2019, I just went off to college. That was my first semester. I was out at Lamar. I was on the dance team up there for 2 years. So I was doing my thing out at Lamar, and I felt just this need to be involved. Hello, thank you.
Thank you, Jules. I appreciate it. And guys, if you're asking questions, we are going to just go through them one at a time. So if you've asked a question, I'm going to answer it. But we're going to take our time with these. So.
Yeah. So I just felt this need to kind of be in a small group of Christians that are my age that we can grow that I can grow with, and because I'd never really been a part of that before. And so I looked up online at the church because I always went to the big service, but I was never involved in small groups. So I looked up online if there was any college groups. There was. And I found the room number, which this is like way out of my character, which is like a whole different story for a different time. Probably would be lumped into part of the testimony, but I didn't even mention this part. But went to the church, went to the college group, and David was one of the first people that I met because he was the intern there. And so he was kind of in between junior high school, and the college ministry. And he was kind of bounced between all three of them because they're in the same area. And he was first person I was introduced to. Yep. And then they had a Christmas party over at his house where they just kind of got together. They did like a fun, like where you exchange gifts and just like a fun time of just hanging out together, fellowship. And I went to that. Also a whole nother story is something that's out of my character, but different time. And so then we kind of got to know each other there. We didn't really talk much that night. I think he was kind of the only person I didn't really talk to. Yeah. I talked to a lot of other people, but I didn't really him because it was his house. And so he was hosting it. So he's kind of everywhere talking to everyone. And then I was leaving because I had quite the drive to go back home. And so I left early before everyone else. And he walked me to the door and he was like, hey, let me have your number and I can put it in the group meet. Because we have a big group text that we say like, hey, Bible studies at this time. Do you want to meet up to go out to eat? And so he added me to that. And so that I could say like, oh, hey, I made it home because I had a long drive. And then after that, we just kind of started talking and texting, and then it just kind of evolved from there.
Well, and that's one of those things. So I mentioned how when my father died, during this whole thing, there was this pandemic, right? There's this pandemic going on.
Yeah.
And her and I had started talking to each other, talking, we're in the talking phase. And yes, I was that guy. I was that Bible study leader who, it's whatever. That's like a thing. But her and I were kind of already talking, but because of the pandemic, we really never met up.
Yeah.
because like you were pretty quarantined pretty much at
Mhm.
your house. Like you hadn't left really. But then my father died, and you and your mom made a gift for me, like just like
Mhm.
you know, in remembrance of my father, and you came over to deliver it,
Mhm.
and I was like, well, you know, this is kind of an opportunity because we got to be around. And obviously, that's not what my mind was on at the time. I was still just grieving my dad. This is like less than a week later, but I really enjoyed hanging out with her. And at the end of the night, I was like, we should do this again. And then there's during the pandemic, right? We had nothing to do. Like there's literally
Right.
like we weren't going
Like
to
places were
work,
closed
school was
down.
online, everything. So we had time to hang out, and so that's kind of how that happened. So that's what it's like weird how you know my father's
Yeah.
passing, like that they were really tied together. Um, but you and I were already talking ahead of time,
Mhm.
so that's why I didn't feel like it wasn't me just like filling a hole. That was one thing I
Yeah.
was really
That's
cautious
what I
about.
waited.
I didn't want to just be like, oh, well, my dad's dead. You know, like
Yeah.
like we were already kind of talking ahead of time, so it made me feel a little bit better about that. But that's how we met.
Mhm.
Yeah. Maddie Fidgets 101. Do you have merch? Yes, I do. This is actually right here. This is merchandise that you can get. He must increase, I must decrease. Right here, it says, now let's be honest, on the back. It's very simple. I like this design. I kind of base it off of the come and see design there. I really like this like black shirt, white text. I think it pops out a lot.
It's good on
And
the colored background.
yeah, and people, and also just outside of this, I think in general, when you're out in public, I've had more people ask questions about shirts designed like this.
Yeah.
And I actually have this. You can go to nowletsbehonest.com. There's a store button, and I think there's another button you have to click to get there. But I think I also have the link down in the description here below. I think I do have the link just directly to the store. And I have other stuff in addition to that. I think I've got like just a bunch of different merch because I use
it's
Teespring and I just have designed it. You can design it for free. It doesn't cost me anything. And so
Mhm.
if you want to get merch, absolutely. Yeah, you can go get this. I'm gonna try to make more shirts like this that like carry a message with them. Because I don't want it to just be self promotion. I mean, I will put the name on the back so that you know maybe it can promote a little bit. But the main thing I want to do is like you know get people talking about God, and so let's include something there. Minister Brick Films. What is your favorite Bible verse and story?
Oh.
Oh man, y'all aren't wanting this live stream to end anytime soon, are you? You're asking David his favorite Bible verse and story.
Oh gosh.
We're gonna be here for hours. Okay, let's let Brienne go first.
Okay.
What is your favorite Bible verse? Are we doing separate things here, or are we just gonna like answer one thing?
What do you mean?
Like, are we doing a Bible verse and a Bible story, or just one thing together?
Either one.
Let's do
Whichever
separate.
one.
Okay, you'll do favorite Bible verse. I'll do favorite Bible verse. You do story. I'll do story. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Favorite Bible verse. Start with that.
Okay, so recently I have been reading through the Bible in a year, right? So I started in Genesis, and the other day, well, this was a while ago. It was probably like a month ago. I was in Genesis 4. I don't want to mess it up, so let me look it up.
Don't mess it up. Genesis chapter
It's
4.
Genesis 4:7 with Cain and Abel.
Is that you must rule over it?
Yes.
The sin one? Yeah.
Yes. Oh, I love it
yes.
so much. Okay, hold on.
Yeah, sin is the devil's knocking, or sin is crouching at your
His
door.
But you
It
must
wants
roll
to,
over it.
yeah. See,
Its desires. For
I
you
don't.
must roll.
I can't quote scripture verbatim
Yeah.
most of the time. I know the concept. I think that's usually more efficient. A lot of the times, I just try to understand the argument of the book more than just actually memorizing the text. But yeah.
Okay, so this is Genesis 4. I'm reading.
Oh, real quick, I do want to acknowledge this because she's getting off. Karen says I've got to get off, but we'll tune in for Thomas content tomorrow, Monday. I hate to leave. God bless you both. Thank you so much, Karen. It's great to have been interacting with you tonight. Have a great night. Get some sleep, and see you tomorrow as we talk about Thomas.
Yeah.
But okay, let's go back to this other question. Let me pull it back up. Boom. What's your favorite Bible verse story? Okay.
Okay. So this is from Genesis 4, verse 7, and I'm reading from CSB because that's the Bible that I read it from first, because that's what mine is. If you do what is right, won't you be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at the door. Its desire is for you, but you must rule over it. And that is one of my favorite verses because...
No, I'm sorry. I was just having fun with the little like squeeze toy thing. I wasn't.
It is cute.
This is sin crouching at your door.
Yes,
So
that's it
like,
right there, the little bat.
Yes. Okay, you can keep talking.
Okay, so I really like that verse because constantly we're battling sin, right? And as Christians, we're trying to stray away from that as much as possible, but it's always going to be there. And it's our choice. You know, if we do the right thing, then we don't have to worry about what's on the other side of that door. But if we're doing the wrong thing, sin is going to be right there, and its desire is for us. But our job is to rule over it. And it kind of reminds me of something that my dad used to always tell, which we talked about in Bible study the other day. My dad, growing up, he always used to tell me, if you're not speeding while you're going over the hill, then you don't have to worry about what's on the other side. So it's kind of like whenever you're going out on the other side of a hill, when you're at the bottom, you don't know if a cop is on the other side, sitting on the side, right? And like
It's the
seeing,
worst feeling. I speed
and
a
seeing
lot.
if they're speeding, right? So if you're speeding while going over the hill, you're not going to see the cop until you get to the top, right? And he can already have his like laser gun thing to detect your speed. He can already have it on you, and he's gonna turn his lights on and pull you over if he wants to, right? But if you're not speeding, you don't have to worry if the cop is on the other side and whether or not you're going to get the ticket because you're following the rules already. So it kind of ties into that. And so, yeah, I really like that verse.
Yeah,
so,
that's a good one. It's a good one. That's really also one of the key verses in John Steinbeck's East of Eden, in case y'all wanted to know that. Real quick, let me, before I answer my question, because I'm going to have a while to answer this, let me look at some of the other questions, just see if I can give like quick answers. Maddie Fidget says, I want to meet you. That would be great. I would love to meet all of y'all. I think that'd be really awesome. If you want, you can meet us if you go to Israel with me. And I'm going with the Snipe Life and with Brandon Robbins. We're going to Israel in February 2023. So if you want to meet us, that's kind of an expensive way to meet us, but I'd love to meet you. It'd be great to meet all of y'all. Or sometime if the Chosen has like an event where all of us get together, I think it'd be cool if we could do that. You want merch so much. Also, yes, look at that. I want merch so much. Go get it. I'm going to try to design some more that might be stuff that y'all want. Great verse. God bless. Thank you, Minister Brick Films. And then, are you ever going to do a giveaway? We're not going to do one in this live stream, but we do hope to do those in the future. That is something where, as the channel grows, we're hoping to do that. Right now, if I did a giveaway to where it was like, answer a trivia question, we've got such a small crowd that it would probably be the same person over and over. So we'd have to find a way to do that. But yeah, so we will do giveaways eventually, and we're kind of earlier in this live stream, we were talking about different things we could possibly do. Okay, my favorite Bible verse is Psalm 27:4. I used to joke around that my favorite Bible verse was Revelation 11:5, just because it was always fun to have people go look that up. And I'm not going to tell you what it is, but if you want to, go look it up and have a good laugh, because it would make you think, oh my gosh, this guy's a psychopath. But Psalm 27:4, it's just, to me, I recently had one of the girls in our Bible study ask, David, how do you live the Christian life? And that was like a very loaded question. And ultimately, I realized that the answer comes back to Psalm 27:4. In the Psalm, David is surrounded by enemies, like he typically is, and he's praying for deliverance. And he says this, one thing have I asked of the Lord, and that shall I seek, to dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to gaze upon the beauty of the Lord and to meditate in his temple. And I could spend an hour breaking down what every single one of those phrases means, but to boil it down to one thing, David is saying that the one thing that he wants in life is to be as close to God as possible. That's what he wants. And I think that is the secret to the Christian life. I think that if we can learn to desire God more than anything, I mean, how can we even be tempted? Think about that. If you desire God more than anything, you won't even be tempted by things. I don't think we can actually achieve this in this life, right? I think that we're always going to desire other things. But if we can truly apply that, right? One thing have I asked, to be close to God. If the only thing you want in life is to be as close to God as possible, then the things that normally would tempt you would no longer tempt you, because those things would draw you away from God and you desire God more. And so I think the secret to the Christian life is always trying to desire God more and more and more, to where, like David, you're saying, I just want to be close to God. And you see this in David's life. I think this is what made him a man after God's own heart. Every single thing David did revolved around him wanting to be close to God, even in his sin with Bathsheba. He messed up, but notice his response, right? Whenever he gets called out on his sin with Bathsheba, he doesn't respond and say, I've sinned against Bathsheba, I've sinned against Uriah. He sinned against a bunch of people. His response is, I've sinned against the Lord. I mean, he literally had one of his closest friends and allies killed, yet he's more worried about the fact that he sinned against the Lord. When you go read the psalm that's based off of this, he says, against you and you alone have I sinned. David loved God so much that even though he'd sinned against everybody, by comparison, it felt as if he'd only sinned against God. And he realized that, yes, he'd messed up a lot of stuff, but the thing that grieved him the most was the distance it put between him and God. And so he goes and he grieves and he cries out to God and he says, deliver my son from death. But then the moment God makes his choice and kills his son, or allows his son to die, David gets up and he worships. And he says, I prayed for my son while he was yet dying, praying that God might deliver him. But now that God's made his choice, I will worship the Lord. And so I think throughout David's life, you see that he actually applied this. He really wanted to be as close to God as possible. And so that's why that's my favorite verse. I think that if there is a key to the Christian life, it's that right there. If we can learn to desire God more than anything else, then we got it. We'll get to our favorite Bible story in a second, but let's look at some of these others. I'm going to linger on the. Anytime you ask a question that's Bible related, I'm going to linger on it. Okay, Minister, let's all ask Dallas if we can be a part of the chosen. That would be great. I think that'd be really cool if we could find a way to do that. But I do understand why they do prefer to usually do that type of stuff where they're like, asking people to pay money because that's how they help fund the show.
Right.
Real quick, we'll go back to the other question. But let's do this. This is a question we can probably answer fairly quickly. What is your favorite song? Oh, we'll get back to the favorite Bible story in a second because I do like Bible questions. What's your favorite song? Do you have one?
That's hard. That's such a broad category.
Yeah, I know.
Are we talking about like just any song out there? Or are we like specifically talking like
just any song? Any
Okay.
song. Just go with any song.
Oh no, that makes it even worse.
Oh man, I don't know. I do not know. I do not know.
I don't even know if I could pick one.
I feel like there is one that I really, really like. Okay, how about this? I'll tell you my favorite song as of this moment, right? I think it changes all the time. I actually have shared this song on the YouTube channel. It's called, oh my gosh, what's Reunion on Patmos?
Oh,
right?
that's
Yes,
such a
great
good
song by Dalton Thomas. It's from his Ballads of the Revelation. This song, it's probably my favorite. Like, it's the song that's running in my head all the time. If it's not that song, it'd probably be a Keith Green song because Keith Green I absolutely love. Also, Phil Wickham's Heaven song is really up there. But Reunion on Patmos, man, that song, it's all about it's about the same thing. It's about desiring God. That's a big aspect of desiring God. Isn't that like John Piper's thing? Desiring God. I don't even really follow John Piper that much, but I do think desiring God is a very, very important aspect of the Christian walk. But I think that's my kind of number one right now. Just go listen to that song. It's beautiful, and it has this thing where it like makes you long to see Jesus.
Yeah, it's really,
What's your
really
answer? Tentative answer for right now?
Oh man, I love anything Phil Wickham. He's probably the one I listen to the most. And I love Come Thou Fount. If I have to pick like a favorite hymn, that's like my favorite hymn of all time. So good. That's what. So we'll go with that. We'll go with that. So hard. General questions where people are like, "What's your favorite?" Like even like, "What's your favorite Bible story?" And like, Or like, "What's your favorite song?" Like, "Oh, that's so broad." What's your favorite food?
Yeah.
You gotta like split up. What's your favorite movie? You gotta split up into categories. Are we talking like action? Or are we talking?
Yeah, it's hard.
Anyways.
Okay. Well, start thinking of your favorite Bible story because I'm gonna go through some of these real quick while you can think of that. Okay. How do you make logos like that? We draw them.
Yeah.
That is like the stuff that I do, like that art stuff. I just draw it. Oh, right here. Boom. I draw that stuff, and then she draws her logos as well. And so we just draw those on those apps. That I think Alone with Jesus. I think he's the one who asked about what app we used. Okay. What app do you use for merch? I don't use an app. I actually just use my website, and I specifically use it through Teespring. So Teespring is the website, and you can access it through my website, now let's be honest.com, or you can just go to Teespring, and I've got a store there where you can just get merch like that. And I've got like Find the Strawberries and stuff. Maybe I'll explain that someday. Great verses, and I love your application of them. Thank you so much, Kim. My favorite song is Rhett Walker, Goodness of God. Is that the like I'm gonna sing of the goodness of God?
Yeah.
Is that okay? Yeah. That is a good song. I think we like all my life you have been faithful. Yeah, that is good. And House of the Lord by Phil Wickham. We sing that a lot at our church. All right, let me go back to this. Where's it at? Oh boy, I'm trying to find it. It's further up. It's further up. Oh my gosh. Okay, favorite Bible verse story. Okay, cool. Also, Jules, I don't know if I gave you a shout out, but thank you so much for that $5. All right, real quick. What's your favorite Bible verse story? And maybe unless we get another question. Well, I'll allow maybe if another question doesn't come in for the next 3 minutes, this will be our last thing we respond to. But real quick, Kim did say Keith Green. Yes. What you know about him, David? You're too young. Yeah. I am an old spirit. Yeah. I know I'm 24, but I love like Keith Green, Rich Mullins. Oh, I just like older stuff. I'm a I'm a very traditional person. They actually tease me in the youth ministry because they like ask me to make playlists for the youth. And I'll like put Keith Green songs in there, and they're like, David, no, we need like modern stuff. And I'm like, but the modern stuff's not good. Like, I'm very specific about worship music. That's why I think a lot of times I just go write my own songs because I think a lot of music nowadays is more self-focused, and self-focused isn't always horrible. I just don't think that's worship music. I think you can have Christian music that is self-focused, but worship music I think is supposed to be focused on God. And so I prefer stuff that's more focused on God. And so I think I see that a lot in specifically Keith Green, Rich Mullins. I'm blanking on a lot of the other people I really like. Dalton Thomas, I like his music. That's a modern guy that I really do like.
This is so good.
Yeah, but I know I'm young, but I'm an old soul. Okay, yes. So back to favorite story, and we have like another minute. If you have any other questions, throw them in there. But if not, this will be the last question that we answer, and then we'll wrap this up. Oh, how did you think to do this in your channel? Could you specify that a little bit? Are you talking about specifically the live stream? Sorry, this isn't out there. So if you could clarify that a little bit for us, we will answer that in a second. But for right now, we will answer the favorite Bible story. All right.
Okay. See, I want to go back to Genesis again, and I think it's because like I just finished going through Genesis, and then like we also went through Genesis. We are going through it right now, like in our own Bible study with our college group, and I think that I've learned to appreciate it in a completely different way than I did before. Like I think I took for granted Genesis, and now that I've been through it so many times and I've seen it from like so many different perspectives, I enjoyed it in a different way.
Yeah.
And so even like just like the story of Adam and Eve, the story of creation.
Yeah.
There's just something about, I don't know if it's because it's at the very beginning, but the way that I've seen it broken down and the relationship, the intimate relationship that God wants to have with us and him wanting to share things with us and share in his creation, there's something so special about that. So I don't know if it's because I've been through it so many times lately in such a short amount of time that would be my favorite now. Because like I also like the story of David too.
Mainly just because it's my name. No, I'm kidding.
But yeah.
Yeah. So, well, I think the good thing about the Genesis thing is that's our introduction to who God is.
Yes.
And you see how loving and kind, like it always aggravates me whenever people suggest that. First off, they suggest that the God of the Old Testament and New Testament are like different.
Yeah.
But they specifically say that the God of the Old Testament is like mean and like in bad. I'm like, where are you getting that? Like the only people who can say that are the people who aren't reading the whole story. Like even whenever God is instructing the Israelites to like do these like pretty bad things by our like whenever we look at it, he's doing it out of grace and love and compassion. And in Genesis, you have that introduction, right? Like he basically creates all this stuff and he gives it to man. And you're like, what? It's an amazing story.
Yeah. Also because it's a story that you hear so often when you're a kid too.
Yeah.
I think it's like you think about it one way and it kind of stays that way throughout your entire life because that's one of the first things that you kind of hear about whenever you're a kid. And so, yeah, it kind of becomes the same. And so then when you hear a different perspective, it like puts it in a whole new light.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, that's so this is going to sound like kind of like a cliche answer, but I think I'll hopefully be able to elaborate on it to where it doesn't seem too cliche. But my favorite story is the death and resurrection of Christ. Which obviously, David, that's the gospel. Like, come on. Well, the reason why is I talked about this earlier in this video, but I've always felt this strong connection to that story, specifically Christ's prayer in the Garden of Gethsemane. That's something that's been very impactful for me to where, like I said, I want to eventually get around. I've got like a billion books I eventually want to write. I don't know when I'm going to have time for that. I might have to wait till I get to heaven. It's one of those things where I've got a lot of things I want to accomplish. This is something I talk with her a lot. There's a lot of things I want to do for God. I just have to figure out what he wants me to do for him. You know, David wanted to build a temple, but God said, no, that's not your job. And I'm trying to figure out what does God want me to do? There's a lot of different things I have the desire to. I can't do all of them. And if I did, I wouldn't be able to do enough of them efficiently. But I do want to eventually write books. And I've got this whole idea where I want to do something kind of like The Chosen. And I've had this idea since before The Chosen came out. That's why I've gravitated towards The Chosen, because they're doing a lot of what I've always wanted to do. And I'm just glad, you know, I'm like, part of me was kind of jealous at first. I was like, oh, y'all beat me to it. But the more I've watched it, I think it's in good hands. And I really like that. But I've always wanted to do like a series of books that's called Through the Valley. And that is based off of Jesus's like prayer in the garden, taking him through the valley to his trials. And then a book called The Shadow of Death. And that would be about him on the cross. And another book that would be called Fear No Evil. And it'd be about his resurrection. And the reason why is because I've just always loved that story. And there's so much in it. I mean, first off, you have the Son of God in the flesh. You know, that's amazing. And a lot of this stuff in the Gospels are very episodic and they're kind of spread out. But when you get to the passion narrative, like the death and resurrection, there's a clear sequence of events that where it's like this intrigue. And there's so much to be told there to where literally you could take that and spread it into 3 books, I believe. And I've just loved that story, specifically, like I said, the Garden of Gethsemane. And this is kind of shameless self-promotion, but I actually wrote an entire album about this, and it's called Awake, O Sleeper. You can buy it pretty much anywhere music's sold. or just listen to it on Spotify. I didn't make it to make money or anything, but and all the songs on that album are based off of that night that Jesus was arrested, because there's something about that story that I've just always found so intriguing. And I didn't know this whenever I wrote the song, but the song "Not My Will" on that album, that song has had more impact on me than I ever realized, because that's the song whenever my dad died, that's the song that I actually was singing in the woods. Like I was with him, holding him in my arms. I knew that he was gone. There were about 20 minutes before the paramedics showed up and found us. I called 911 immediately. And while I was waiting, I started singing, "Father, if it be possible, remove this cup from me." And I started singing that song, and it was about, "Not my will, not my will, not my will, but yours be done." And so I've always liked that story. And just the fact that Christ would do that for us, there's nothing that will make you desire God more, And so I just always really like that story. And so that would be my favorite Bible story. Real quick, let's see. We had a few comments here. Okay, let's see. Minister Brickfield's my favorite is actually the crucifixion and resurrection too. Well, there you go. Then we're kind of kinsmen there. Maddie Fidget's mine is the birth of Jesus. Well, there you go. You're gonna have a really fun time at the Chosen Christmas special, which y'all should go buy tickets for, by the way. Mine would be called "Come to the Table." I'm assuming you're talking about your favorite song, Kimberly, because I think there's a song called "Come to the Table." Kim says, "Exactly, y'all. I feel the same way when I hear God is against women. They're definitely not reading it." Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you go read the Old Testament laws, they're actually, obviously the culture was very different, but they're actually very advanced towards women compared to other stuff. Go check out Josh Carroll Lego. You wrote a song. What's it called? It is on YouTube. Yes, my all my music's on YouTube as well. Just look up David Tate, "A Waco Sleeper." That's the name of the album, and all the songs are there. Definitely go check them out. I really like them. Oh, we've got more questions. I have a tough time. Okay, after this, stop sending questions, because we're gonna have to stop because it's been a long time. And I originally, before we started this, I was like, it's going to take like an hour, and it's been over 2 hours. So okay, let me go back up. I saw one question up here where she had clarified, or he, I don't know. Let's see. So how did you decide to do this on your channel, like reviewing movies? They specified. We explained this a little bit earlier. This was an accident. Brienne had not seen many movies. I grew up watching a lot of movies, and so I just started showing her this stuff, and her reactions were funny. And so I decided to record them and put them on YouTube. And then we started specifically talking about The Chosen because I really liked the show, and I was trying to get some of my friends more comfortable talking about biblical stuff. And so I thought it'd be cool to sit down and talk about the show and talk about what's in the Bible, what's not in the Bible, what's artistic license and stuff like that, just because I thought it was a show worth promoting. And the channel just kind of took off after that. So the fact that we're here right now is kind of a accident.
Yeah.
Not an accident. I think it was orchestrated by God. But yeah. Okay, let's see. And then there was questions. Who's your favorite Bible character?
Oh my goodness.
Other things. Okay, while you're thinking of this, I'm just going to go through the other comments, but no more questions. Oh, you put another question. Okay, now no more questions. All right, we're gonna do one more question after this, and then we've got to go because I'm getting tired. So first off, who's your favorite Bible character? Other things. Also, does merch cost money? Making merch does not cost money because I use Teespring, which is amazing. You can just design your own stuff, and it doesn't cost you anything. But it does cost money to purchase it. I was commenting on what you were saying, not about what verse scripture. Oh, got it. Okay. Cool. Okay, I see what you're talking about there. All right, who is your favorite Bible character, Brienne?
Oh gosh.
Maybe we should just start doing Q&As. That'd be something we could start doing on this channel.
Well, we didn't think that this many people were going to tune in, so we didn't really account for enough time to have a Q&A because we were like, oh, maybe like a handful of people are coming. Like there won't be a lot of questions to answer.
Yeah, absolutely.
But now we know that people actually like to have Q&A, so we
that's
can
good.
prepare for those.
Yeah.
Favorite Bible character. Well, I said I really like the story of David earlier, so he is definitely one of them. I also really like the Apostle Paul. I love reading his letters. Like,
he's a savage.
They're so good. Like Galatians, I read that not too long ago, and it's just like, they're just so good. Like, there's so many nuggets in all of his stuff that he writes. Anyways.
Yeah. No, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
It's very good stuff. My favorite character would definitely be David. Just because David, that's one of those things I would love to sit down with Dallas and pitch him like another TV show to follow The Chosen. It would be a lot more violent probably, because I don't think you can tell the story of David without being violent. But Brienne and I have talked about this.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe one day I can be a producer. I have no idea. I've got so many things I want to do.
Lots of ideas.
I can literally, I've already got like this whole like 10 season show on David planned in my head, to where I know like, to where it's like, I know where each season would end. And it would be, it's so easy. Like when you read the story of David in 1st, 2nd Samuel, and then 1st Kings, and then also Chronicles, and then through the Psalms, we probably know more about David than we do any other character in Scripture. Primarily because the Psalms give us insight into who he is. And he's just such a great character. Like his story begs for a really cinematic representation. And I think like with The Chosen, what they're doing is unique, because I think the story of Jesus is actually very difficult to adapt to TV. I think it's easier to adapt to a movie because it's really episodic, and so it's kind of hard to link them together, but they're doing a really good job. The story of David, though, it actually begs to be told in a TV show format. Because it's just like so much political intrigue and action and love and romance and betrayal, and there's so much there. It's like the Princess Bride of Bible stories, but it's also kind of like a godly version of Game of Thrones, you know, like to where it could be a big thing. I think people would be opposed to it a little bit because you would have to be a bit bloody, and I think you have to include some of that because it gets across the emotional impact. But I would love to see that one day. Yes. Now, last question. This is it. Okay. This is the last question, and then we're going to be signing out so that we can all go to bed.
We love answering
we do love answering it. Maybe we'll have to do Q&As more often or something.
Yeah,
I've really actually enjoyed this. I love just answering questions. What is your favorite movie? Oh, these favorite questions are so difficult.
I got this one covered.
You got it. Oh,
I do.
Okay, good. Talk for a while because I need to think.
I think that this might be one of the only general questions out there that I could possibly ever answer. You probably know the answer.
Oh, I think I do.
You do?
I think I do.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
My favorite movie is Father of the Bride.
Yeah.
So good. If you have not seen Father of the Bride, I 100% recommend that you go and watch it. Okay. It's a cheesy kind of like rom-com type situation. But oh my gosh, it's so good. It's just like you don't have to, it's one of those movies that you can put on over and over again. There are lots of like funny little jokes in there. And you don't have to critically think about it to understand what's going on. You can just like have it on in the background if you want to, or you can sit down and devote your time, sit down with some popcorn or something if you want to. But it's not something that's like, too investigative where it's not like an FBI show or something where you have to like put the clues together. It's just something nice to sit down and watch. It's so good. The first one's better than the second. I recommend the first one more than the second. They did a special over the pandemic. Me and David watched it. It wasn't a movie. It was like this like Zoom call thing. Yeah. Go watch it too. It's fun, but go watch the movies first, but make sure you watch the first and then the second. Because you have to have the context of the first before the second. Very good movie. Go ahead. I gave you time.
Yeah, it's actually really funny because you're like, your whole thing's like, you don't have to critically think. And I'm like, then why would you vote that your favorite movie? Like, I love critical thinking is like my thing. No,
I do like critically thinking, but you also have to realize that we created an entire channel about me having to critically think about all these movies that I haven't been exposed to over a short amount of time.
Yes.
So I kind of enjoy sometimes not critically thinking about a movie because I have to do it a lot.
It's true.
So it's my one time to like sit back and just enjoy something. And there's so many funny jokes. Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
All right. So my favorite movie is Prince of Egypt, I think.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yes, Prince of Egypt.
Really good.
That's actually a movie that I would love to break down on this channel, but I wouldn't want to just do one video. I would want to do like breaking down scene by scene. And the reason why is Prince of Egypt. First off, it's not accurate to the biblical story. So it's not even. I think it would be my favorite movie, even if it weren't a biblical story at all. I think it's just a great movie. Like it's an animated movie, but man, is that a good movie. Minister Brickfield, my favorite movie is The Chosen. Well, that's more of a TV show, but I guess I'll allow it because they're going to the theaters in Christmas. So I think maybe we might allow this to slide. Yeah. But no, my favorite movie, it has to be Prince of Egypt. But I don't know. I think that's just one of those movies where I think I could just watch it again and again and again and always get something else out of it. Because first off, the animation's great. The story, I mean, like I said, it's not accurate to the biblical story. They changed a lot. But the way that they changed it was so good. Like, it just, the betrayal and all, like it's so good. Like, where they have them being brothers and, I don't agree with it biblically. But man, is it a good story. And then the soundtrack, like, every single song, like you just want to break down line by line by line. And that's actually what I'd probably want to do. I'd probably want to do breakdowns of the songs. But man, I love that movie. And I showed it to you. You hadn't seen it before. I showed it to you.
Yes.
And I think we need to watch it again.
Yes.
Sometime soon. It's such a good movie. Really, and I absolutely love that. And look at that. Kimberly says, please break down Prince of Egypt on this channel. You know what, Kimberly? I think I will do that. Oh, your favorite movie is Left Behind. Yes, I showed you Left Behind.
Oh, yes.
Right? Yes. Yeah, I actually read pretty much all the Left Behind books.
Mhm.
Back when I was like really young, right? I think I was still in junior high when I read
Mhm.
all these, and I read the big boy books, right? I mean, they do have their kids series, but I
Yeah.
actually read the big boy books, and I
Mhm.
made it through all of them. And that's also written by Tim LaHaye and Jerry Jenkins, who is the
Mhm.
father of Dallas Jenkins, which is really cool. I don't know if I necessarily agree with all of the end times theology, and I think I did at the time,
Mhm.
because I think pretty much the end times theology that they teach at my church is almost exactly what you see in Left Behind. I think I
Mhm.
probably disagree with it a little bit now, but it's still very great. I love the Left Behind series.
Kim
Uh,
agrees with me.
Kim, what was that?
At the top of here, she
Oh wait,
agrees with
Kim.
me.
Yes, Brienne. I love that movie,
Yes.
although it's been a long while. Yes, I agree about the first one. There you go.
Very good.
My favorite movie is The Passion, a Brick film.
Oh, it must be his.
Oh, is it one of your films? That's really cool.
That's
Brick
so
films.
fun.
That's neat. I want to watch it. Cool. Okay.
We'll have to look that up.
Yes, I will look that up and maybe we can do something about that.
That's so cool.
Nice. We have all the books, all of them. Yes, yeah, I've got all the books too. I read the prequels, all that stuff. The only one I didn't finish was actually, I think, Kingdom Come, the very last book. I read all the prequels, read all like 12 or whatever many books there are.
Mhm.
Literally got to the last book. I think I got 20 pages in and then I stopped.
My
And
dad's stuck on the last one too.
yeah, it's really
He's been
weird.
stuck on it for a long time.
I don't know why,
Yeah.
but I just did.
Speaking of movies that are coming out,
No,
or
it's
just like
Josh
movies
Carroll,
in
I know.
general,
Okay.
Redeeming Love is coming out in January.
is,
I watched the
yes.
trailer the other day. I'm reading that book right now.
Mhm.
I had no idea a movie was coming out. I got it like a
Yes.
few months ago, and then I saw the movies coming out. I was like, well, that is perfect timing.
Yeah, I read
So-
Redeeming Love a while back. It
Mhm.
tells the story of Hosea, but in
Yeah.
like a
So-
not modern, but it's like 1800s. So
Yeah.
it's kind of cool. I love The Prince of Egypt 2. Watched it again recently and had forgotten how great a movie it was, especially for this. That's actually the exact experience I had. I actually rewatched it again back in college, and I did it for a project, and I was like, this is way better than I remembered.
Uh-huh.
Like as a kid, I was like, oh, it's a great movie, and like I knew all the songs, but I rewatched. I was like, wow, this is
Mhm.
good. It kind of got outshone by Shrek, which if you know the story behind all that, it's kind of funny. Shrek and Prince of Egypt were made at the same time, and everybody thought Prince of Egypt was going to be this box office hit. And if you weren't doing your job with the Prince of Egypt, you'd get bumped down to go do Shrek, and it was called getting Shreked.
Mhm.
But then Shrek ended up being this hit, and Prince of Egypt kind of went under the radar. But Prince of Egypt's a great movie. Do you like my channel name? Yes, I do. Alone with Jesus. We actually talked about that
Absolutely.
earlier in the live stream. I love that. Spending time alone with Jesus. I don't think we should only be alone with Jesus. I think that there's an extreme value in Christian community that we don't really
Yes.
talk about enough in the modern church. I mean, I think we do talk about Christian community, but I don't think we get it right. I think
Yeah.
that we kind of reduce it to self-help groups and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
I think it's more than that. OMG, yes, I remember. I was growing up around that time. Yep, absolutely. Okay, well, there we go, guys. That is it for this live stream. Thank you so much for tuning in. This was a lot longer and we had a lot more interactions than I
Yeah,
expected.
it
So
was good, though.
we'll have to do this more often because that was great. I really enjoyed this. So thank you so much for interacting with us and hanging out. It's been great kind of getting to interact with y'all more. I usually do premieres and I try to be present during the premiere so I can interact with you in the live chat.
Mhm.
But I'd like to do more live streams because it's just kind of cool to hang out with y'all and, you know, just kind of dial it back a little bit. Usually when I'm doing like the Lives of the Apostles videos, I'm just trying to like talk to, you know, so you're just like not wasting any time. But here we can kind of sit back, just relax. And
Yeah.
I kind of like that. So maybe we can do more Q&As, do stuff like that. We'll come up with it. But look forward to more videos. Tomorrow's video, I will say, I already edited it and everything. And so it is going to say, now let's be honest about movies.
Mhm.
But after that, all the videos are going to say, now let's be honest, and they're going to have this amazing logo right here. And very soon I'll try to come up with a design for a shirt that I can post about. So if y'all want merch that has this logo on it or something, that'd be great as well. Let's just look at these final comments. Redeeming Love. Ooh, can't wait. Awesome book. Yes. Also, Minister Brick Film does have a passion. Go check it out. Okay, I'll go look at that. I really enjoy this God Center channel. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That is the goal. And yes, this is very cool. Good night. Have a good one. I enjoyed that by yes Q&A. Okay, we'll try to do those more
Yay.
often. Thank you so much. Have a good evening and see you in the next video live stream. Lives of the Apostles so good. Thank you so much, Kimberly. I appreciate that. And thank you so much for joining us. I don't really have anything else to say. So my name's David.
And my name's Brienne.
And this has been Now Let's Be Honest. Know
That's
about
it.
movies. Know about movies. This is Now Let's Be Honest. Be sure to keep a smile on your face. Don't let anybody steal your joy. And to end this live stream, let's play that thing one more time if I can pull it up. All right, ready? After I play this, we're going off stream, okay?
Mhm.
Ready? Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2. See y'all later. Bye.